This meeting is called to order of the Sachem Board of Education public hearing of charter schools. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pelletieri to make opening remarks regarding the meeting.
Thank you very much, President Scavo. To start with a statement initially. Good evening to everyone in attendance tonight. The Sachem Central School District was finally notified on April 28, 2023, that the State University of New York's Board of Trustees is in receipt of an application for the revision of a previously issued charter to the South Shore Charter School. According to the notice received from SUNY Charter Schools Institute on April 28, 2023, the South Shore Charter School has requested to operate within our district's boundaries during the 23-24 and 24-25 school years, until such time as the South Shore Charter School's permanent facility is constructed within Central Islip. Unfortunately, and only through our own investigation, and again without any initial notice to the district, and now only after having received this late notice, Sachem has become aware that the South Shore Charter School is flagrantly already operating beyond the scope of its terms in its January 2022 state approval to be only located within the geographical confines of the Central Islip Union Free School District. Specifically, the South Shore Charter School has essentially already launched its educational operations from the former St. Joseph School located at 25 Church Street, Ronkonkoma, New York. As superintendent of schools of the great Sachem Central School District, I want to be clear in my position tonight that notwithstanding this recent revision request of the South Shore Charter School, the unauthorized and ever-expanding operational scope of the South Shore Charter School within the Sachem community was not encompassed by and consistent with the South Shore School's original application filings and ultimate approval by the State University of New York's Board of Trustees and Board of Regents. The South Shore Charter School was approved only after certain findings were made by the State University of New York's Board of Trustees regarding the purported need within the Central Islip Union Free School District and the Central Islip Union Free School District only. No findings were ever based upon the educational operation of the Sachem Central School District, nor would they be. I will read to the community now the proposed revision request itself. A description of the proposed revision action as noticed by the State University of New York's Charter Schools Institute to the Sachem Central School District reads as following. South Shore Charter School is approved to be located in the Central Islip Union Free School District and chartered to serve 150 students in grades K through 1 for the 2023-2024 school year, and growing to serve 450 students in grades K through 5 by the 27-28 school year, the final year of the current charter term. The school requests to temporarily incubate in the Sachem Central School District for a period not to exceed 2 years, while facility acquisition and construction are completed within the Central Islip Union Free School District. The school still prioritizes serving the needs of the Central Islip Union Free School District. As part of the State University of New York and New York State Education Department's approval process, the charter school's application for a revision of its charter, the Sachem Central School District is hereby hosting this public hearing. Accordingly, both the State University of New York and the Board of Education of the Sachem Central School District hereby invite any comments on the proposed temporary location of the South Shore Charter School at 25 Church Street, Ronkonkoma, New York. Such comments may include or reference the programmatic or financial impact of the proposal on Sachem's public schools and any other school districts within the surrounding area. Thereafter, comments made at this public hearing or submitted in writing related to the South Shore Charter School will be forwarded to the appropriate authorizing entities of the state of New York. Prior to sharing and receiving public comments, I'd like to share with you a presentation. Some of my colleagues will step forward and present on the strengths of Sachem's own elementary program. Allison, can we bring that up? Oh, okay. Jack's working on that one? Is it? Okay, it's not on those other ones either. Okay. Mrs. Hines, I'm sorry. Ms. Hines, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, would you start us, please?
Sure, absolutely. We're being joined by our school administrators and some of our staff to actually join us in this presentation. I don't have- Yeah, not yet. As we have here, we have a few slides just going over the information regarding the charter school that we're talking about here tonight. But overall, could this be happening here in our school district? So charter was to be created in 2022 to serve the Central Islip students, later Brentwood, Bayshore, and Central Islip. To foster innovations in education, supposedly in districts NYSED SUNY deemed in need of charters. There's no location in Central Islip, so the request to SUNY to permit 2 years within the geographical boundaries of Sachem was sought. Sachem schools are all in good standing. This means that all of our academic testing with regards to 3 through 8 testing and regions allows us to showcase the strong academic programs that we have here. The costs, oh, thank you. Okay. Just to be clear on the cost for tuition at the charter school, it would be about $14,000 per student. Also additional transportation and services such as health services.
Ms. Hines, I'm going to jump in on this
Yep,
one. Just
great.
The school district itself has 15 schools, as many of us recognize and know. All of those students all of those schools are now what we call local support and improvement schools, which was formerly known as good standing and is now the recognition by New York State Ed that all schools in the district and the district itself are in good standing. We have several of our administrators to come and help present some of our information tonight. Allison, you can go to the next slide.
Okay, additionally, just overall facts around charter schools. Charter schools do siphon off critical funding from our public schools, impacting our ability to provide the vital programs and support that are passed each year with our school budget. Charter schools are unpopular with the general public.
I'll just speak to that point for a second. That's a statement there. And where did that come from? NYSED had a recent poll that went out, and the majority of people that responded to that poll, I believe it was 800 people, and that is in an email that I sent to the community, said that they were not a popular choice amongst them.
You should know that public schools are held accountable, as we saw earlier, with their academic standing through the state education department. We are expected to operate transparently and operate under demographically elected school boards officials. Charter school budgets are not held to the same level of public input, scrutiny, or feedback. Public schools educate all students. We are not allowed to select just a few. There is no guarantee in a charter school of enrollment from year to year. They can remove students and not return the funding to the school district where that student came from. The district here at Sachem, we would be responsible for transportation, health services, additional special education services, etc. So we were also able to download some of the information in terms of the PTA position on charters. I know that we have several members of our PTA here tonight, so we look forward to hearing from them. But the New York State PTA adheres to the belief that charter schools need to be open to all students, including students with limited English proficiency, students with special needs, and students from diverse racial and cultural backgrounds. They should comply with federal and state laws governing public schools, including laws regarding teacher qualifications, testing standards, and fiscal accountability. They should also adhere to federal, state, and local laws to ensure students' health and safety. Be accountable to local school boards in the districts where they are located. Be funded in such a way as to preclude the charging of tuition or mandatory fees not charged by other public schools in the district. Be independent of non-public, sectarian, religious, or home-based school affiliations. Include parents in meaningful decision-making roles. Fair funding of the public education has been a priority of the New York State PTA. The current position, funding for charter schools, was established in 2001 and sought to address the consequences that charter schools can have on the public school system. PTA members are urged, and again, tonight we will hear from our very own PTA members here, to support legislation to change the method of funding New York State charter schools to eliminate the potential for an adverse effect on traditional public schooling and the communities they are intended to benefit. I'm going to hand it over to our directors for special education.
Good evening. Regarding special education, the Sachem Central School District acts as a local educational agency, otherwise known as LEA, for a charter school within its district boundaries. And what this means is that Sachem pays the charter school any federal aid attributable to a student with a disability in proportion to the level of services rendered by the charter school. Sachem incurs the expenses of providing all evaluations for students suspected of or having a disability. This includes staff resources for conducting evaluations and convening the Committee on Special Education, as well as developing individualized education programs, otherwise known as IEPs, for all students with disabilities. Sachem is also responsible for providing all program and services to these students with disabilities to ensure that each student receives a free and appropriate education. Sachem and the charter school are legally obligated to implement the IEP, and if the charter school requests that Sachem provide the special education and/or related services as stated on the IEP, Sachem must oblige in making arrangements to deliver such services. If on-site services are required to meet the individual needs of the student attending the charter school, Sachem must ensure and provide, if necessary, these services on the site of the charter school. These services may include, just to give some examples, consultant teacher services, if a student requires individual nursing services, aids for students, and also we are responsible for providing special transportation to and from the charter school, such as if a student requires curb to curb or a bus with a matron. A school district is generally responsible for due process and the discipline procedures contained in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, as well as federal regulations relating to student discipline. Charter schools do not have the same federal regulation oversight for student discipline. Although Sachem is the LEA for students with disabilities residing in the Sachem Central School District and attending the charter school, please note that Sachem has no oversight of the provision of program and services provided to students with disabilities. We do not get to vet teachers or providers or select whom the charter school employs or contracts with directly to provide services to Sachem resident students. And the charter school may apply for an exemption from teacher certification requirements with the New York State Education Department. And what this means is that some teachers working with students with disabilities in the charter school may in fact not have special education certification. We wanted to also present to you, give you an idea of the wide array of continuum of special education services here in the Sachem School District. It includes related services such as speech language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, hearing and vision, orientation and mobility. I would add to that counseling or psychological counseling services, behavioral supports, and we also have a huge continuum of programs, starting with least restrictive resource room and getting more restrictive depending on our students with disabilities needs, which may include direct teacher consult, integrated co-teaching, 15-1 special class, 12-1-1 special class, 12-1-4 STEP program, which is a program that's designed to help students integrate into less restrictive programs, 8-1-1 special class, and 8-1-3 special class. So we offer as a district a very wide variety of special education services and programs.
Okay, so this table is a fiscal impact that was part of the original application that South Shore Charter School made with New York State. And you can see that it lists Central Islip as the district where the largest enrollment would be. starting with a year 1 of approximately 150 students, going to year 5 of approximately 450 students. The 5-year impact to Central Islip would be $36 million. Okay. So we took that table and now we applied that to the Sachem Central School District. Same year 150 students down to the year 5, 450 students. Our per pupil tuition rate for the charter school would be $14,302. Then we would need to provide the health services and all of those special services that Eric had just mentioned. And when we factor that out across the enrollment, you see that in year 1, that could cost Sachem approximately $2.3 million. Year 2 would be $3.4 million, $4.6 million in year 3. Going all the way down to year 5, the total cost to Sachem would be roughly $23.3 million.
So I'll just jump in again for a second. You can give the mic back to Ms. Hines for a moment. But this was actually sent to me by a parent in the community, and I felt so compelled by, I wanted to thank them and utilize this ourselves. Literally shows the charter school, our public school being taken apart brick by brick as we build our charter school. And that's, in essence, what happens when we take our funds and transfer them over to another school within our geographical confines. This hit home with me. I thought I would enter it into the presentation.
Okay, we're going to start welcoming up our elementary principals so they can share all the accolades and strong program offerings that we have at the elementary school. We're going to start with humanities, which is our literacy and social studies programs.
Just say your name and school also, please, if you don't mind, everyone. Thank you.
Sure. I'm Elizabeth Tucci, the principal at Merrimack Elementary School. And some of my little friends are up there. So proud of them. We are using research-based curriculums in balanced literacy workshop model developed in coordination with certified teacher experts. Great deal of training in those areas as well. We are utilizing the guided reading, small group reading on a daily basis and purchasing for every elementary, middle school, and high school. The early literacy success is supported by multiple certified reading specialists in every elementary school and middle school, and who have access to multiple reading programs and curriculums. Our struggling readers are supported by a team of professionals, an ongoing team that meets to address their needs. We have our data teams meet 3 times a year at minimum with the district to ensure that no child is overlooked. And then we meet more regularly as a building staff as well. Over 40 software purchases to support the one-on-one student Chromebooks, mentor text to support read alouds, kindergarten through 5th grade reading and writing units. And our library media specialists help to support a love of reading, writing, and research projects. I know around the district we have Battle of the Books, things like that happening to support our little ones.
Good evening, everyone. Tom Desmond. I'm the principal of Winona School. Just to continue on a little bit with what Ms. Tucci said, is that in addition to all of the bullet points that she mentioned, sustained professional development using data and all teachers to meet students' individual needs. Veteran teachers are present in most all of the buildings that have undergone extensive certification and many, many hours, as previously mentioned, of professional development. In social studies, we have project-based learning, civics, and field trips are all incorporated into the students' learning. And we have opportunities for all Sachem students to learn about their community and become part community leaders with a developing civic readiness program forthcoming. Thank you all.
Okay, we're just going to have a few of our elementary principals come up to talk about our science and math programs.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Sadens. I'm the principal over at Chippewa Elementary School. We have really an outstanding STEAM program that happens in all 10 elementary schools, where we bring project-based learning, hands-on opportunities for our kids to make learning come alive. Our curriculum is aligns to New York State Next Generation standards. Some new programs that we've been bringing in over the past few years are garden towers, I guess work off this screen, that's fine. You know, most of the topics that are brought in with the general overview, but then we take those opportunities to break it into using manipulatives and modeling to understand and problem solve, investigate and STEAM activities. A problem be posed to the kids. They get to go through research and data and come up with a hypothesis of why this is happening, and really being able to articulate in their own words the learning that they're doing and why it's so important, and connecting it not only to other parts of the curriculum, but to the world that they live in. We have effective and engaging strategies that our teachers use to make sure that learning is exciting, and a myriad of digital resources to support learning. As you know, when we were younger, we utilized a textbook for most of our learning. Today, using a vast digital platform allows our children to access learning both in the classroom, at home, on the soccer fields, on a phone if they're at a child's game. So really opening up to their learning wherever they are.
Sure. And just to touch upon Mr. Saden's technology, that was a little bit of an example of our technology, which you see all around our room in our district office here in Board of Education room. Social emotional learning, you know, the whole child approach, whether it be kindergartner or a 12th grader and anyone in between. Educated elementary school counselors we have here tonight. If we have Mr. Morales and Miss Healy, give us a wave. All right, welcome. They have been invaluable to both north and east side of the district, working with our youngsters. Research-based SEL program, as well as our MTSS, RTI, IST teams at every elementary school. We meet continually to meet the needs of our students. District behavioral specialists, the SEL chair people, peer leaders, and teams as teachers equaling role models. Our calm down rooms, which are quite often that could be found in most buildings. Flexible furniture and flexible seating for classrooms and shared spaces. Peer educators, our transition team meetings from grades 5 through 6 through 8 through 9. Those are quite invaluable. I will tell you, as a parent of 3, with my own child moving from 5th to 6th this year, and having gone through that process firsthand, both as a parent, as a principal, it is invaluable to their success. Our Sachem therapy dogs, I think I'm not sure who loves them more, the teachers or the staff, but they've been a real great connection for our students, especially with social emotional needs. Our outdoor learning classrooms, if you visit any of our 10 buildings, we've got brand new outdoor learning spaces and outdoor learning centers, and as the beautiful weather comes around, are being utilized. State-of-the-art playgrounds, monthly family connect nights, student roundtable discussions, clubs at every school, which has really been invaluable to our kids. We were at the Fit Club yesterday, so that was a big one across the district. Unmatched student leadership opportunities. Again, a plethora of information and a plethora of supports for all of our students. Something to be very proud of.
Joe, just say your name and school, please.
I'm sorry, Joe Watson, Principal of Hiawatha.
Thank you, Joe. Mr. Watson.
Okay, I'm going to speak a little bit about the music department highlights. So while we're talking about elementary school, all of the love of music and all the opportunities that we have here in Sachem begins in our elementary schools. So I'm just going to kind of share a little bit of a highlight, generally speaking. As we know, I think everybody may know, around that 4th grade level is when we start to really have kids hone in on band and orchestra. 3rd grade, we have a ukulele program. We also have an elementary, all elementary music festival. However, as a district as a whole, we have over 150 students from grades 4 to 12 selected for county and statewide honors performing ensembles during the 22-23 school year. We have a little over 1,200 students involved in our elementary instrumental program, our band and orchestra, as I said earlier. We have 3,000 students involved in our middle school music programming and extracurricular music opportunities. About 1,300 students involved in high school music programming and extracurricular music. We have a wide range of extracurricular performing ensembles and clubs, including jazz ensemble, songwriter concert, competitive marching band, a cappella choir, drama club fall and spring musical play, chamber orchestras, and competitive winter guard. We also have recently built high school labs at each of our high school giving daily instruction in piano keyboarding, lesson for beginners, as well as music theory, songwriting concepts, and sound and audio engineering. Over 150 students are enrolled in these music lab courses just this year alone. And then Sachem, for the first time this year, every 5 years, a new district is chosen, and Sachem was chosen to host our very own NISMA solo education festival each year for over 400 students. My apologies, I don't have my glasses on. Okay, I'm going to ask Dr. Miller, our Director of Counseling, to please come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Miller. I'm the administrator in charge of guidance. Echo what Mr. Watson said. We are fortunate to have two extremely talented elementary school counselors, Ms. Healy and Mr. Morales. Ms. Healy works with the North feeder pattern. Mr. Morales works with the East feeder pattern. And in all the schools they work with, they work very closely with their principals to work on certain lessons that the principals feel might be needed at the school at that time. We also, that includes put-ins to various grade levels. It also included this year a very strong focus on the transition to middle. And that was based in response to the needs of the students, talking to the students and seeing what their concerns were about going to middle school. And Ms. Healy and Mr. Morales were able to develop a program to focus on those really major aspects to prepare kids to go to middle school.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. I'm going to ask Mr. Butel to come on up, please, and speak to athletics.
My name is Gary Butel, and with me is
Phil Torgrosa, Assistant Athletic Director.
doesn't like when I mispronounce his last name. But all seriousness, as you see, athletics is a big part of Sachem, and what we do from the time the children enter 7th grade, they're eligible to participate in athletics, starting in middle school through high school. As you can see from the slide, we offer quite a few number of teams, if not the most, definitely one of the top most teams in Suffolk County. Participants, as you can see there, and my eyes are going a little bit now, roughly 4,000 students participating in athletics. Athletes are winning postseason honors, all-state, all-county. We have an all-state champion, took first place. We have all-state athletes all the time going to state in many different sports as well as teams. National champions also in activities that we offer. You can see league champions and the scholar athlete teams. Last winter, the way it works through the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, we submit the criteria for the awards, and I believe every team except one was a scholar athlete team, which is a huge accomplishment for our district. School distinction, school of excellence is two. Also, other awards that are offered through New York State Athletic Association for us, and we thrive, as you can see from, we just had our college signing days where we had students, we had a couple of students there, our phys ed award students that we recognized. Like I said, our Arrowets are there as national champions. Students also one that took place in a peer mentoring program offered through St. Richard's High School. So we do a lot through athletics as part of it. Phil? Go Sachem.
Thank you, Mr. Butel. I will share that we have over 150 teams in our athletics department, 83 at the high school and 70 at the middle school, as well as participants, which Mr. Butel said. We have about a little over 2,200, almost 2,300 students at the high school and about 1,600 students at the middle school. So again, another really strong program that we have here in Sachem. Okay, our art department, again, in Sachem, for any kind of love of interest that you have, we have a pathway for you. In our art department, we have certified art teachers at each of our elementary buildings. We have family art nights and cafe art nights. We have guest artist workshop visits throughout our district for our art classes. We have annual district art shows in each of the elementary school. We have participation in 4 county art shows and the Sachem Public Library Art Show. We have collaborative murals between elementary and high school students, which is another piece of our peer mentoring. We have museum field trips, and we hosted 2 Honor Society inductions. And we also sponsor several clubs relating to the arts. And you could just see here some of the beautiful artwork that is created by our elementary students. So what are our next steps?
I'll jump on that, Erin. Thank you very much. After tonight, the minutes from this public hearing, the notes, and all video will be sent to SUNY and NYSED. We will also be sending any correspondence on the matter to SUNY and NYSED. And we encourage community members to continue to have the conversation with us. If they want to do so, at aflorio@sachem.edu. You can put South Shore Charter School in the subject line. And we also, my last piece there, we'll be continuing to work with local community members, legislators, and superintendents and other school districts as well who are impacted by this decision.
I'm going to open up to any questions from the board to our administration regarding the presentation. Does anybody have any questions? I have a couple, actually. It's okay.
Mr. Miller, I think we're going to ask you a question if you don't mind. And
First and foremost, I want to thank the administration and our district office administration for coming out tonight to present this information, the PowerPoint presentation. Some of the stuff, I was hoping that would come up that didn't, was sort of our data regarding graduation rates. Dr. Miller, if you could just share with us, would you have, I hate to put you on the spot, but do you know our graduation rates right now in Sachem on average, yearly average?
I would say if ballpark anywhere from 94 to 95%.
95%.
Yeah.
Okay. And you wouldn't have, number of students or percentage of students that receive advanced Regents diplomas?
The majority, it's close to 90.
90%
Yeah.
receive advanced Regents
Advanced.
diplomas.
Yep.
Last question, number of students statistically that attend 2 and 4 year colleges and go to military immediately upon graduation from Sachem.
That's about 80%.
80%
Yep.
actually go off to college.
Yep.
Okay. So in essence, our elementary schools are the foundation, okay, that drives forth the success rate and the data that we have
Correct.
at our high school.
Absolutely.
High school level.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Questions for
Mr. Scavo, we can actually add that in terms of additional information on the slides.
I just want to make a point that
Absolutely.
we have a tremendous elementary school program that leads to tremendous data, success rates and performance rates for our students that graduate. And the point I was trying the question I was trying to get the information. Michelle, fiscal stress that we're facing over the next couple of years. I jotted some stuff down here. Maybe you could touch upon some of the things that we've talked about in our past board meetings regarding, the expenditure side of the budget as well as the revenue side of the budget. TRS, ERS insurance increases for our healthcare, transportation increase, which was a $2.2 million increase this year.
Health insurance premiums
Health insurance premiums
increased by
that have insurance.
14%.
A recalculation of foundation aid, okay, and then the expiration of our as well as American Rescue money, which is going to happen very soon. What are some of the fiscal stress that we're going to be looking at in the next couple of years?
So at the end of the upcoming 23-24 school year, that will be the last year that we have our the federal grants money that was allocated to all districts. So all of the programs and staff members that we currently have in those grants, we have to now find a way to pull them into the general fund, which becomes increasingly more difficult as inflation is at a high level. Our health insurance premiums are rising by double digits. As you mentioned, the TRS, the ERS, all of the services that we provide, related services to our special education students, all of the programs that we send our students to through BOCES have all have outpaced the increase of what our tax levy is. So we're limited on our revenue side on what we can raise to pay for the budget, but there is no limit on those costs that we're facing. And now, as I said, those federal funds will go away next year as we're facing a time of increased prices. And then the foundation aid formula, we've been on a hold harmless for the past 3 years, which means we were held when the executive budget comes out in January. The governor usually shows us at a 0% increase in foundation aid, and foundation aid is the largest portion of our state aid. We've been fortunate in that when they come out with the adopted budget, there is that hold harmless where they give us 3% increase on the foundation aid. But with a CPI of 8% when we were preparing our budgets and revenue increases of 3%, it doesn't keep pace. And that is we are facing that fiscal cliff that everyone had spoken about for several years.
And the we're limited to, as far as our budget next year, we're using $6 million of unassigned fund balance just to make the ends meet.
In this current 22-23 school year. In the 23-24 school year, we are using $600,000 from one of our reserve funds, but we're appropriating fund balance of $9.2 million to help bridge that gap.
Okay, and next year, I mean, this is not an anticipated cost. I saw the revenue number, the cost numbers, the expenditure numbers up there. Should we have, anywhere from 30 to 100 to 150, 300 kids that would attend this charter school? What happens as far as sustainability if we're unable to sustain that? Where do we go from there?
Well,
when the revenue side of the budget doesn't come in and the expenditure side of the budget exceeds the revenue side of the budget, what are our options?
Well, then we have to look at staffing and programs and do some kind of combination of
So it could
reductions
be
on
increasing class sizes,
increasing class sizes,
reduction
reductions
of
of
co-curricular
our
clubs.
correct, our athletics programs, music, arts programs would all have to be, we would have to maintain our educational, our core courses. So the first, areas that would look to be reduced would be our sports, our clubs, our, interscholastic, our music and art programs, larger class
and this
sizes.
is something we experienced in 2011 with gap elimination, where we were losing $20 million a year, which resulted in, excuse me, reduction of security, increase in class sizes, reduction in transportation. And it took us 10 years to get back to where we are now, to be able to restore security and keep our schools safe for our children. So these are all impacts that we may be facing.
Once again, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Slattery?
Good evening, everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Laura Slattery. I've been on the board for 10 years now. I'm a proud parent of a 2012 and 2014 Sachem graduate. My son was a special ed student at Sachem. His IQ is below 80. He has seizure disorder. He has ADHD. The teachers in Sachem and the special ed programs and supports that he received here enabled him to succeed beyond what every doctor had told us he would ever achieve. He graduated Sachem from a self-contained program with a Regents diploma because of the dedication of every teacher, every guidance counselor, administration, and all the supports given him here. He was expected to live on Social Security disability for his entire life. He instead went through Ken's Crew through the transition program at Sachem. And after working there for 5 years, a student he played football with, yes, our athletics is not just about general ed students. My son graduated here as a varsity lacrosse and football player. His team is the only team in Sachem history to ever win the Long Island Championship. And that year, my son won the Suffolk County 12th Man Award, which is named after him in Sachem. And to further that, the coaches here got him certified to coach. So he's still a coach standing on the sidelines of Sachem football and lacrosse through today. So the student he played football with opened a concrete polishing company and approached my husband and I and said, I know Michael will have to walk away from all his supports and benefits through disability, but I am confident I can train him in this job. So 2 years later, 2.5 years later, my son now works a full-time job with full benefits and a 401k, and all of that is due to public education. That is why for 20 years, I have been an advocate for public education. A charter school does not have to take every student. A charter school would not have to take my son. I don't even have the confidence that other districts near us would have given my son an opportunity with all his learning disabilities to earn a Regents diploma. That was done strictly by the people here in our buildings, in our district, and that is why I volunteer as a school board trustee 10 years after my last child has graduated to give back to a community that has given my son the life he has today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Slattery. Ms. Isernia?
Yeah, I just wanted to delve a little bit into the reality of the situation. So in some of our budget hearings, well, Michelle, we have the 23-24 budget pretty much laid out and approved now. And during the development, you had a line for charter school tuition there?
Yes, we had a line where we had $15,000 budgeted, roughly our tuition rate, mostly as a placeholder in case a student would go to, say, Riverhead Charter or something. We always budgeted that one spot.
Okay. And presuming this is allowed to go forward, right now, what is the request?
So I had spoken to the director at the school a few weeks ago, and they had said that as of that point, 20 families had registered,
What's that impact?
about $286,000.
That we hadn't budgeted anything for.
We budgeted 105,000 when we thought it was 7.
So we're already another $100,000 behind.
Correct.
And that's just right now.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other comments from board? Meredith?
So I just have a question that perhaps some other parents might be thinking. When everybody says the money follows the child, and then if the child comes back, the money doesn't follow them back. Can you explain what that means?
So the money follows the child. When we get our state aid, what happens is the end of this school year ends June 30th. In October, once all the books are closed and we have our financial statement audit and everything is finalized, we submit our claim forms and our ST3 up to the state of the results of our operations from this current school year. That's what drives our aid. So when students go to a charter school, at the end of that school year, we're paying the charter school tuition that's coming out of our general fund. And then when we file our ST3 and our claim forms for the subsequent school year for the operations that just ended, and we note how many students that we have that are in charter schools, that funding then is reduced because from our foundation aid and all our state aid, because those students aren't in our buildings anymore. If a student were to come back, it would take over a year to get funded for that student because you have to wait for the year they come back, the books to close, file the financial reports, and then the subsequent year that aid comes back. So there's a lag of a couple of years in that aid.
And basically with a charter school, the kids, so like I was a student who struggled horribly in elementary school. I had a lot of problems going on in my family. And I would literally just sit there and daydream out the window all day. So a child like me, instead of being helped, would probably be sent back to my public school, and where I thought I was going to be hanging out in this charter school. And then my money wouldn't follow me for at least another year.
Correct.
Sabrina Bigowitz?
I'm gonna speak as a parent a little bit later, but I just have a question. Why doesn't the charter school have to resubmit an application to be able to operate in our district? Because to get a charter school approved, there's a whole application and a lot of proof as to why they would need to, or why the charter school would be successful in that area. Why are they just asking for a request and able to kind of change what's on their website to now recruit Sachem students without actually having to go through the whole application and prove why they need to be here? Because from the data that I've seen from Sachem is that we are not a school of failing. We're in good standing. If they did put that application in my opinion, they wouldn't get approved because we don't have any shortfallings or anything like that. So why aren't they having to go through a whole nother application?
Because under the education law, there's a provision in a section that allows them to make a revision of the charter that they were issued. So it's our understanding that they have made a request with the SUNY Charter School Institute for a revision, and that's why the district was noticed. So although they were approved to essentially operate and conduct their educational operation in Central Islip originally, based upon the fact that they do not yet have a Central Islip location, that's our understanding. They're now making a request to temporarily locate in this Sachem School District for a 2-year period. The district, our firm, on behalf of the district, has submitted a FOIL request for any and all documents relating to that application for a revision. So we really don't know what the specifics of the application were. We do know that we were ultimately notified in furtherance of what the superintendent indicated to the public. There was apparently some sort of initial approval that was granted back in November of 2022, in which there was a request made of the SUNY Charter School Institute by the South Shore Charter School to operate on a temporary basis for 1 year this upcoming school year in Sachem. That was apparently approved, at least internally, by the SUNY Charter School Institute. Thereafter, no notice was provided to this school district. Our firm, in conjunction with central administration and based upon the leadership of the board, essentially conducted an investigation as to what was going on at the state level. We were required to submit several FOIA requests with the SUNY Charter School Institute because, again, when there is any type of a revision request or when there's any type of initial application for a charter school to operate in a school district location, you have to provide notice to the school district, the subject school district, and allow them an opportunity to be heard. That's what we're doing here tonight. So
Can I just clarify something you said?
Sure.
So this was some type of approval happened on the state ends in November, but
Yes.
nothing was given to us.
No, nothing.
So we had a FOIL. We
This
had
school,
to FOIL
to,
that
to be
information.
perfectly honest with you, this school, our firm had only learned about the proposed location in Sachem based upon the fact that our firm also represents the Bayshore Union Free School District. And we received, our firm received informally information from Dr. Maloney and his staff at Bayshore that they were attempting to locate in Sachem. We had an initial conversation with the SUNY Charter School Institute. They had initially taken the position that did not rise to the level of a formal revision request for the 1 year and that they had the authority to do that. We then submitted a letter on behalf of the school district on February 21st, 2023, in which we said this is preposterous and that we should be afforded a notice and an opportunity to be heard. We received no response to that February 21st letter until a telephone message we received on April 5th. After I had sent a follow-up email saying, why haven't you responded to our firm on behalf of Sachem? We received a telephone message on April 5th indicating that the district would be afforded notice. We were told that due to the school break, we would be afforded that notice sometime after the spring break. We then did not receive that notice as a district until April 28th. So at that point in time, the first time the district had received any notice was April 28th. So to answer your question, the reason why they do not essentially have to go back before the state and submit a whole new application is that there is statutory authority that allows them to make a revision request, and that's apparently what they have done with the SUNY Charter Schools Institute.
But ultimately, we wouldn't know any of this information if we weren't being proactive about it and requesting this information and foiling the information.
Our correspondence on behalf of this school district expressly indicated that we only know about this through our own due diligence and investigation.
Right, which I think is just poor communication and not fair. Well, in the time frame that I know I have been following this going on their website, where they quickly switched from, where they were granted requests to all of a sudden Sachem students, they were holding live virtual open houses. They were showing up at our public library, doing a lot of things of recruiting when they don't, and still to this day, don't have that formal request approved. Correct? This is the purpose of this.
Well, at some point in time between November and when we were finally notified on April 28th, they made the requests evolved from a 1-year temporary location to a 2-year temporary location within the geographical confines of Sachem. That's what they're seeking in terms of a revision as it relates to Sachem.
Okay, thank you.
And that is still pending. So the process tonight will be this district will conclude this public hearing. We will then forward the record of today's hearing to the state, to both the New York State Education Department and the SUNY Charter School Institute. And then we have received initial information that they could make an initial determination that may require additional approval from either the State Education Department or the Board of Regents. But the SUNY Charter School Institute will make an initial determination on the revision request as early as June 14th.
Ms. Stephanie Volpe?
Okay, I have a question with the concern attached to it. So the relationship of a charter school with the district it's operating in, accepting students from, et cetera, is that like a private school to a school district, or is that like a BOCES type of relationship? And the reason I'm asking this question is that sometimes there's the district will work together to help the student. So is there a possibility that the doors wouldn't be as open to helping the student and act more like a private school setting? Because when I did volunteer as a parent member, there have been times where district Sachem was not allowed into a private school to give additional services or help to that student. They wanted only their staff to do it, even when a parent requested. So I don't know how it works with a charter school.
Yeah, I would defer to Dr. Pelletieri on that. I don't know what, in terms of the educational obligations, are between the district of location and the charter school itself. That's something we could look into and get back to you about. But I don't know the actual mandated requirements of the host district to perform an educational operation or to assist the educational operation of the charter school. I don't know that.
Especially concerning when there's sometimes children that have unique behavioral issues that prevent progress in an area of learning, where they need specialists that might have the expertise in district, but then the school offering the education will not allow those professionals in because they feel their way is better. So it's a huge concern. I've seen it happen when I volunteered as a parent member, even when the parent was begging for the help. So I have concerns with that if it acts more as a private school.
And I just want to clarify one of my original statements. The district never received any formal notice under the law, right? We received information from our own investigation. We had some telephone conversations initially with the SUNY Charter School Institute, but as a matter of law, they were required, at least we're taking the position, they were required to notify us of this new temporary proposed location, and we never received the express notice and or opportunity to be heard on that revision request. So we were hearing things, we were engaging in telephone communications, brief ones with the SUNY Charter School Institute on behalf of Sachem, but we always took the position that we did not receive the requisite notice of any temporary relocation request until April 28th.
Ms. Slattery?
Hi, I just had to collect my thoughts for a minute and continue on. So I just want to address a few comments that I saw on social media today. DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, SEL, social emotional learning. Those were called today woke, liberal, something we don't need in our schools, something we don't want in our schools. What I want every parent to understand is when we talk about counseling, OT, PT, speech, smaller class sizes for students who need it, guidance, and all the other supports that are given to kids who need them, this is what enables those children to be successful. If my son does not receive those services, he is living on disability his entire life that you as a taxpayer are paying for, and he does not have the life that he is leading today working a full-time job. So I need everybody to understand that. I have been called woke so many times now that I'm a little tired of it. Social emotional learning, I'm not done and I'm not speaking to you. Social emotional learning, diversity, equity, inclusion. This is not a back and forth. No,
Hold on a
this
second,
is not a
student.
back and
Wait,
forth.
Ms. Slattery, hold on.
No.
A second. Hold on a second, please. We're not going to call out.
No.
If we're going to interrupt this meeting, we're going to remove you from the meeting. All right?
Okay,
Listen,
I apologize.
you'll have an opportunity to
Okay.
speak, sir. Okay.
Okay, good.
Ms. Slattery, continue
Yes,
on.
thank you. So these are supports that students need. Now, if you happen to be raising a perfect child that doesn't need any of the supports, that didn't need counseling or speech or OT, you will not see the world through my eyes. I see the world through my son's eyes, and I am glad that Sachem gave him the supports needed to be successful. That is what a public education is. Free and appropriate education for all. Thank you.
Ms. Marivolpe?
Should have let me go first. Mr. McCarthy, my questions are kind of for you. Is there an actual building in Central Islip that's under construction for this charter school?
There's a site located at 267 Carlton Avenue, and it's my understanding that the South Shore Charter School, that's their proposed location, that's their proposed permanent facility, and they have an application and certain approvals pending with the Town of Islip's Planning Board to operate at that location.
So I live in the town of Islip, and I've heard a lot of back and forth. And I'm not a teacher. I'm a business person. I'm actually in sales. This sounds very much to me like a bait and switch. It sounds like it's something that we have lots of fancy words for in Central Islip, and we're not approved. We don't have a building under construction. The proposed building is on a major road, which I don't think anybody would approve a school being, an elementary school being on a major road like that. So we have this proposed place that we could possibly maybe one day get to. So we need 1 year in Sachem, which is now turned into 2 years. That's what, and the only way that Sachem found out is by foiling. And usually when you foil and you're not really heard, if you have something great to tell, especially in sales, you're going to sell it to the world immediately. You're not going to hide it and wait for people to foil it, right?
That's correct.
So can I just follow up? So there is a chance that this building in CI might never come to be, and then we're going to look for another request to stay in Sachem permanently. Correct? Because that's the feeling I'm getting.
I guess that's a possibility.
That's a
yeah.
possibility.
That's a possibility.
Again, it might not
certainly.
be reality, but it's definitely a possibility.
I'm gonna one more question comment
It's
from the
not,
board,
it's
and
just
then
a follow-up for her.
and then we're gonna go to the community for public comment. Right?
They're
Ms. Slattery.
advertising to Sachem students right now, correct?
Who-
Right, so why
Yes.
wouldn't we think that would be the intention? Exactly what you said.
I'm gonna open it up
Or
to.
can I just do like my personal before we? I just want to speak on a personal note. I'm going to take my Board of Ed hat off and become a parent for a few minutes. I have 2 awesome kids, and they give me permission to share whatever information I have right now. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but I am a proud supporter of public education. I am an educator myself, and I've educated thousands of kids in my career, and I believe in it. I educate in Bayshore, and I am a parent here in Sachem. My children have gone through elementary school here at Sachem, and I'm looking at, there were 2 principals that both my kids went through who look at as the most wonderful people in the world. The other day, my son just said, "Oh, I really would like to see Mr. Sadens." And my daughter saw a picture of Miss DeBello. She's like, "Oh, I miss it there." They love their elementary school. Those teachers there supported them beyond belief. My son started off very rough in kindergarten, and right now he's in 8th grade, full honor student, declassified student, in going into all the classes in high school that are about to be in front of him. He's gonna have 3, excuse me, jumping the gun there, high school credits walking into high school. He already has a point towards his civic seal of readiness. I don't understand how that's a failure, right? That's saying that our schools are failing. I'm not going to say we're perfect. And believe me, everybody knows up here, I am a critic, but I'm also a huge supporter because I believe that there's always growth. And the time I've been on this board, I've seen a lot of growth with the 9-period day and the opportunities that we're giving our kids. I see elementary teachers who go into their pockets, went into their pockets constantly for their students. I see teachers coming to us asking us for their things for their classroom and curriculum that they want because they care and want to see their students successful. So again, I'm not going to say we're perfect, but I have two children who have gone through elementary school, and I'm so proud of the community that helped raise them because they did. Okay, I can't say I did this all myself. The people that supported them, love them, they still see them and give them hugs and kisses. It's truly a family. And I just don't understand why this community needs something or needs a school to come in and already give what we're offering here. I have two students who are in love with the music and the arts. My daughter just received the perfect score in her schemia. She loves her band and her band teachers, her chorus teachers. They still talk about their elementary ones. It's just the growth that we see here, the support that we see here. And again, I want to continue to see it. I don't want to have to say students that we have to take away sports from them, we have to take away arts from them. I don't want to see that we have to take away programs because we're giving money to something else that we already offer. So as a parent, I am not for this charter school. I believe that if we really want to change education, if the state sees that we need a change or maybe that we need to see changes in our program and our education system, then let's do that. We don't need another place that we might more than likely will see failure or maybe some mediocre education. Let's move forward into what we're doing in our schools now and better that versus looking for all these alternate options. So thank you.
So we're going to open up to public comment. We had a video sent down to us. Senator Assemblyman Doug Smith, who's the head of the Education Committee in the Assembly, couldn't be here tonight. He wanted to be here tonight. He's stuck up in Albany, on the Assembly floor, even today, 4:00 in the afternoon. But he did send down a video that he did want us to share and be part of the record. So, Allison, if you could play that.
Today, I join you as the state representative for the Sachem community, an educator and a parent, to express my strong opposition to the establishment of the South Shore Charter School within our beloved Sachem School District in Ronkonkoma, New York. This proposal not only threatens the integrity of our public education system, but it also raises serious concerns about accountability, standards, and fairness. One of the fundamental issues with charter schools is the lack of accountability and standards that they are held to compared to our public schools. While our public schools must adhere to strict guidelines and regulations set by the state education department, charter schools operate with far greater autonomy. This lack of oversight puts the education of our children at risk and undermines the quality of education we strive to provide. Furthermore, charter schools have the potential to divert millions of dollars away from our public schools. As we all know, our public schools are already facing financial challenges, struggling to provide essential resources and programs to meet the diverse needs of our students. Allowing the establishment of a charter school within our district would only exacerbate this problem, leaving our public schools further stretched for resources and compromising the education of the majority of our students. Another critical concern is the cherry picking of students by charter schools. These institutions often target and enroll high-performing students who are the least expensive to educate. Charter schools have no obligation to educate every student and can reject students from our community. This is a direct contradiction to the principles of inclusivity and fairness that our public schools are built upon. We have thousands of fantastic children with unique abilities that may not be fairly considered for admission due to the high cost of their education. This selective enrollment undermines the principle of equal opportunity in education. Our public schools welcome and educate every child regardless of their abilities, socioeconomic status, or background. Additionally, the faculty of charter schools are not all required to be certified teachers or administrators. This raises concerns about the quality of education and the expertise of those responsible for shaping the minds of our children. Our public schools have a rigorous certification process for educators, ensuring that our students are taught by qualified professionals who possess the necessary skills and knowledge to provide a high-quality education. We cannot compromise on the standards we have set for our educators and administrators. Moreover, the establishment of the South Shore Charter School within our district raises questions about the lack of public input in this decision. The absence of a formal public input process is offensive to our community, and it undermines the principles of transparency and democracy that should guide such decisions. The voices of our community must be heard, and the concerns of our parents, educators, and students must be considered before any decisions are made regarding the establishment of a charter school within our district. I implore the Board of Regents and the State Education Department to intervene in this matter and put the application for the South Shore Charter School on pause. This will allow for a comprehensive public input process to take place, enabling our community to have a say in the future of our education system. At the state level, and as your representative, I will continue to advocate for policies regarding the transparency and accountability of these schools funded by your taxpayer dollars, the siting of these schools, and input by elected school board members. The issuing of charters should also be the responsibility of only one entity in New York State government permitted to issue charters, and that should be the Board of Regents. The involvement of the SUNY Board of Trustees in charter school approvals has raised serious concerns about the privatization of our public education system. We must prioritize the interests of our students, educators, and communities over the influence of outside entities. In closing, I extend my sincere gratitude to the Sachem Board of Education and Sachem School District for holding this public hearing on this matter. Together, we will continue working to protect the integrity of our public education system, advocate for equitable opportunities for all students, and ensure that every child in our community has access to a quality education. Our children deserve nothing less. Thank you.
Okay, just a couple ground rules before we come up. Look, we're going to have some people in this room that are opposed to charter schools. We're going to have some people that are going to speak in favor of them. The only thing I ask of this community is that we be respectful to the speaker. We don't interrupt. We allow everybody to be heard, so we could understand the concerns of our community. All right. So, first speaker, John Chavez. You just got to make sure the button's on.
Hello?
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Well, I got the lucky draw, huh? So, my name's John Chavez. I live close by, over by Sagamore. I have two children that go to Chippewa. Mr. Satan's our principal. I have a little girl who's in 4th grade, a little boy who's in kindergarten. And just to get it out of the way on the outset, I am completely against a charter school in Sachem. My kids, specifically Johnny, my little boy, has been taking speech therapy classes. Let's go back a few years, 2020, when COVID hit. My father was one of the first ones to get sick. He passed away a month around April. Jacqueline had to be homeschooled for the rest of that school year. We were worried that she was going to be behind, which she was a little bit when she got back to school in September. But I would have to give a lot of credit. We tried our best at home to read and to do the math and everything that she had to do, but I would give a lot of credit to the teachers, to the administrators, to everything to get her back, not just back to the level, but now she's reading above her grade level, which is great. My little Johnny was in pre-K last year, and he had to do speech therapy. Again, he wasn't able to go to any kind of preschool because of COVID and everything like that. So we felt like he was a little behind. He needed the speech therapy, and he's been getting it. My wife actually just had a meeting with the whole team actually this week, and they basically told her he has grown by leaps and bounds with the speech therapy that he's been getting 3 times a week at Chippewa. They pull him out for a few minutes every day, every three times a week. But I don't see that there's anything wrong with our education system right now. I like the education that my kids are getting. I like the community that they're in.
my wife goes to the PTA meetings and everything like that. The one thing that I've been thinking about in my head is, and it's a question hopefully somebody could answer, is the purpose of a charter school is to serve a community in which I'm assuming the education system isn't good or isn't good enough.
That's correct.
Is that the purpose of a charter school? All right. So
Underperforming districts.
underperforming districts. So if that is a requirement, how is it even possible that a charter school would be considered for a school district that is not underperforming? I don't understand that. That's the first thing that I don't understand. The second thing that I don't understand is, how is it that we're not told that somebody's moving into our backyard? I mean, whether you're for this or you're against it, wherever you live, if all of a sudden you wake up one morning and somebody's building a shed in your backyard, in your house, wouldn't you be pissed off? And they go, oh, so-and-so told me I could build it here. You know what I mean? Like,
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm over here.
sorry.
I know everyone.
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
that.
yeah, I hear the echo.
I apologize.
Yeah, yeah.
There is a 3-minute time limit,
Okay,
so if you could just wrap up.
All right, I apologize.
Allison,
So-
No, that's okay.
We don't have a tremendous amount. We're going to let it go a little longer.
Okay,
All right? So,
perfect.
But if you could.
Sure. So that's another thing that I don't get, how we're not told. And then all of a sudden we have to go and find out why. And I don't know how legally that works. You know what I mean? And legally, I don't know how a charter school is allowed to open up in a non-underperforming school district. There should be some kind of, right? Like,
Absolutely.
there sh-
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm definitely against the charter school. I don't want it here. I don't want it diverting my tax dollars that I pay willingly for my school, for my kids. And I don't want it diverting stuff, just like, I'm sorry, flattery?
Miss Slattery, yeah.
Slattery.
Slattery. Sorry, I have
could
bad
call me
eyes. You can
Laura.
tell, right?
Laura.
But you don't realize that you need help until you need help, right? So my kid needs help, and if for whatever reason this charter school gets approved, and it may not be my kid, it may be somebody else's. You know what I mean? But the fact is, we pay taxes in this district to have our schools in this district and to have the programs in our schools in this district for our kids. So it's not right. I don't even know how it happened, to be honest with you. I'm missing, something that I should be at tonight, because I felt like this was important enough for me, for my kids. I have a kid in kindergarten. I have my daughter in 4th grade. I'm hoping that one day in 10 years or 12 years, I could come back and talk about my little Johnny is probably even a book writer now because of the help that he got. But I just wanted to let everyone know I am completely against it.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Robert Oberg.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Robert Oberg. I have two children. I have one Kaylee. She's in kindergarten. She's 5, going to be 6, and I have one she's 3, going to be 4, and she's in preschool right now. And our homeschool is Grundy. Love Grundy. It's a great school. So far, the school district, everything, it's been phenomenal. I really only have good things to say. And I understand, I was here once before speaking in front of you during COVID, during the masking, which I was 100% against. I know it wasn't this district. I know it was the idiocy of the state. This is going to the state, by the way, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Let me say again, the idiocy of the state. They destroyed these kids, destroyed it. The state just needs to get out of the way. And I think that's kind of the problem. And I think Sabrina, I couldn't pronounce the
Ms. Bigowitz.
Pickowitz, thank you. You made the statement, I don't understand why they need to come here. I actually think I do. And because they saw an opening. They saw an opening that was created by the mess the state created. Okay, they saw this opening with the idiocy of the masking, with everything, with keeping the kids out of school, education. Kids are now behind. They saw it. And with all the other nonsense going on in school, I'll maybe get to that later. I don't want to travel down a rabbit hole, but because this school's been great. By the way, I have to give a quick, I guess, shout out to Miss Labella and Mr. Franco. They are awesome. So yeah, please let them know that they are amazing. They go above and beyond. And my daughter Kaylee, she has selective mutism, so she's part of the has an IEP as well. We had something very interesting happening during COVID. She's very bright, very bright little girl. But one day she's in preschool and she starts just stops, kind of just something happened. And it was during the height of COVID, and we learned that selective mutism is an anxiety-based disorder, which of course it only makes sense that it was amplified because of the pandemic and everything that happened. But she was holding in her pee and poop, crazy stuff. It's hard to talk about, and it's part of the anxiety. And she wouldn't even talk to her teachers. She loved her teachers, even in preschool. She could not talk to them. It's a strange thing. I don't understand it, because she could talk to us, but then she wasn't able to talk to them. This year, she is now talking to her teachers. We finally broke her out. Took her half the year, but they broke her out of it, and they are phenomenal. They're doing great with her. She is a phenomenal reader. She's already up to C books, which is, if you remember, some of you have older kids, they should be up to B's now. So she's well beyond where she should be. So very bright little girl. Again, I want to emphasize how the state really screwed things up with these kids and taking away these programs. I'm hearing from a lot of parents that have issues with their kids with reading, writing, all the things that the kids need to have, that they need to be in school. Social, emotional, that is all things that were taken away by the state. And that is a big issue. Now, a couple of my questions were answered. I know I have limited time, but the first thing, I'm a big proponent for the school. I love the community. I love everything. But you always have to reflect and say, why is it that people are going over to these charter schools? What is it that's drawing them? So I have just a question for the board. Have you done an exit interview for those 20 students, or the families?
We don't know who the 20 students are.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah.
Okay, because
we were just informed that 20 students either registered or enrolled.
So you can't follow the money. You can't figure out who they are, or
yeah, we ultimately can. It's something we could look into.
It would be beneficial to just interview the parents, just informally. It doesn't have to be formal. You could just talk with them and be like, "Hey, listen, what I'd like to know why it is that you left, what it is." Just a little self-reflection. As Meredith Volpe, you said that you're a businesswoman. Any good business, as to kind of self-reflect, you're going to look at, do an exit interview. Why is it that these people are leaving? What is it that I could do better in my company? Correct?
Absolutely. I will say, though, that this is so far kindergarten and first grade, so some of them probably haven't even had a chance to give Sachem a chance yet.
And that's fair enough too. It might be a way to connect with the students and be like, listen, let us give us a chance. If that's the case, give us a chance to show us how good we are as a community, because I would like the tax dollars to stay here. On another topic, I know it's not this district, but on other districts, has been an issue of certain things coming into the studies of the students. And I know it's a hot topic, and I'm not looking to inflame anyone. But the only way I could really describe it is what kind of inflamed things before: woke ideology. And this is a topic that might have to be looked into. I don't think here, but this is why I bring up the exit interview. And I know specifically a lot of families left for Florida because of those issues, because of all the mandates that the state pushes upon. So I'm really giving it more towards the state, because I know the state pushes a lot of these policies and a lot of these ideas. But I'm really, again, pro everything that's happened so far. Great teachers. I went to that book thing. Oh, by the way, though, I wasn't waiting on that line. I don't know, did anyone else go? I wasn't waiting on that line. I'd say, and I didn't wait for the ice cream line, and I didn't wait for the book line. I said, listen, I'm buying you ice cream and I'll buy you books. I'm waiting on that line. So, but anyway, so that's my.
If we could wrap up. We have a lot of people that need to.
I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Natun Cognate.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Martine Cognier. Sachem is a phenomenal district. I'm a parent of 5 and parent advocate for many. It sounds like you've gone to great lengths to convince the community why they should stay within public school system. Charter schools aren't only about Sachem District, though. It's giving parents choice. We all deserve choice. Public schools don't own students, and trapping families within one district, if somebody's unhappy, they should have choice. What we haven't talked about is that charter schools actually receive 28% less in funding than public schools do. I understand budget cuts, but charter schools are alternatives, and they are public schools. And they are overseen. And the teachers there are phenomenal. Several of my children graduated from charter school. One special education. One that could not survive within public school. First day walking in, 2 students approached and said, I can't wait until you come in September so that I can beat you. You know what? My son fell on the floor. And it was at that point that I knew I needed choices, and I had no idea. When I asked, what can I do? My options were parochial school. That's all I knew about. And then somebody said, well, what about a charter school? Okay. I went to my district and I said, what about charter school? Oh no, they steal funding. Nothing was about my concerns regarding my son. It was because of charter schools that my son graduated and is successful and does not live on the system. He's a certified mechanic and he works within this community. And he helps so many people. It's because of charter schools. It's about options, and it's not only open to the Sachem district. This is one of the most supportive communities that I've ever met out of all the districts that I work with. Not in my backyard. It's not only about Sachem. It's about all the communities. The school's open to all communities in Suffolk County. It's about parent choice. And parents should have choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John Weston.
Good evening, Dr. Pelletieri, President Scavo, Vice President Pickowitz, District Cabinet, and Board of Education trustees, and Sachem residents. As a Vice President for the Sachem Central Teachers Association, I come to speak on behalf of the 1,400 teachers, teaching assistants, aides, and school-related professionals who come to work each day to make Sachem a school district that truly is sans égal. How do I know this? I, like so many of our staff, grew up here. I graduated from Sachem North and I came back to work here. Over the course of my 16 years teaching English at North and my 11 years as a vice president for the SCTA, I've seen our students succeed because of our district's goals and visions. We have created a culture at Sachem that supports and promotes education. Our art and music students continuously win awards for their achievements. Our sports programs are some of the best in the county and the state. Our region's passing rate and high school graduation rate are both exemplary. This is thanks in part to the unity of our amazing teachers, TAs, aides, and support staff coming together for the Sachem community. The introduction of this charter school to our Sachem community will only divide us. Now the funds that previously served to enhance the programs for our Sachem students will instead go to a charter school, siphoning opportunities away from our own Sachem students, opportunities that the Sachem School District has worked incredibly hard in collaboration with the following groups to create. Sachem has excellent building and district administration who work with our educators to create the best learning environment possible for our students. Sachem has the best PTA out there, dedicated parents, students, and educators working together for the best possible school experiences for our kids. Sachem is lucky to have the support of our local legislators, like Assemblyman Doug Smith. When SCTA members have made phone calls and written letters to our legislators advocating for more funding for education, for the programs that create opportunities that set Sachem apart from other districts, our legislators have always delivered for Sachem. I'm proud to say that SCTA members are an integral part of the Sachem family. We live here, we work here, we shop at local merchants, we give back to the community. Thank you, sir, for mentioning the books. Over 30,000 books donated to the Sachem community in the past year. Tens of thousands of dollars in scholarships given to our graduating students. We are active members of the Chambers of Commerce, the civic associations in Sachem. We support the wonderful Sachem Public Library. These are all the members of who we in the SCTA consider the Sachem family. I'm appealing to all of you, to the Sachem family. The SCTA stands ready to join our community in this fight. Together, we won't let this charter school divide us. The SCTA stands united with our Sachem family to protect our schools, because the Sachem family knows what our administration, what our parents, what our students, what our legislators know, that public schools unite us. Thank you.
Thank you. Sachem Council of PTAs.
Hey, Rob, just a quick comment.
Sure.
Dr. Pelletieri. There was a comment made about the charter schools getting 28% less funding. It was also not mentioned that we still have to provide transportation and all of the other services, right? So I don't want it to be said that, hey, they're just getting less funding, but we're paying for that stuff, right? So there's a reason for that.
Sachem Council, Bevan.
Good evening, President.
You just have to give it a little shake. It's
Dr. Pelletieri, board members and cabinets. We have a letter here tonight from the Sachem Council PTA's Executive Committee. Dear community leaders, for 125 years, National Parent Teacher Association has worked toward bettering the lives of every child in education, health, and safety. From its inception as the first state branch of the National PTA, formed in 1897, New York State PTA's long-held commitment to advocacy has been the fire within. PTA's mission is a powerful voice for all children, a relevant resource for families and communities, and a strong advocate for the education and well-being of every child. Taking action provides both parents and PTA leaders with the resources to become more involved with their community at home and their community across the nation. With this in mind, the Executive Committee of the Sachem Council of PTAs stands with the Sachem Central School District's Board of Education, the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Christopher Pelletieri, and the Sachem Central Teachers Association in opposition to the South Shore Charter School opening in Ronkonkoma, New York. The rationale behind this position is based on the following. Funding of New York State charter schools is derived from a formula-based proportion of K through 12 spending, approved operating expense, including non-related and special educational services. School districts must still provide transportation, textbooks, library materials, computer software, and health and welfare services to charter school students. The reduction of existing enrollment in several buildings generally does not reduce the total cost of staffing, utilities, supplies, insurance, etc. A public school on contingency may not increase their budget beyond the cap set by the state legislator, but would still be required to pay the charter school at the previous year's approved operating expense. This would potentially force the public school district to eliminate or reduce programs and services to students enrolled in the traditional public schools. A charter school student can be expelled at any time. The student is returned to the school district, but funding dollars are not returned for the remainder of the academic year. A charter school may employ uncertified teachers as educators. The employees of the charter school may be deemed employees of the local school district for the purpose of providing retirement benefits, including membership in the teacher's retirement system and other retirement systems open to employees of public schools. District employees, including teaching staff and principals, may request an extended leave of absence to work at a charter school for up to 3 years without negative impact. This could cause a significant personnel shortage.
We support New York State PTA's position on charter schools, specifically requiring them to comply with federal and state laws governing public schools, including laws regarding teacher qualifications, testing standards, and fiscal accountability, and be accountable to local school boards in the districts where they are located. We further stand with New York State PTA in agreement that, while a number of New York City charter schools have met the standard of improving achievement as set forth by the New York State Charter School Act of 1988, studies have shown that a majority of charter schools outside the city have failed. In addition, they divert money away from traditional public schools. The original intent of the act has led to unintended consequences, and that some communities suffer serious financial drain on traditional public school programs and have no local recourse. We would like to bring to your attention our concern over the opening of the South Shore Charter School. On October 7, 2021, the SUNY Charter School Institute's Board of Trustees voted to approve South Shore Charter School's application to serve the Central Islip school community, as they claimed that families in neighboring communities were struggling to find high-quality, affordable alternatives to their underperforming school districts. Full recruitment plans were developed to target a total of 150 kindergarten and first grade students in Central Islip and the surrounding communities. The current lottery admission system specifically targets Sachem School District resident students with a disability and Sachem School District resident students, not the Central Islip community listed in their application. New York Education Law 2850 recognizes a need for charter schools to increase learning opportunities for all students, with special emphasis on expanded learning experiences for students who are at risk of academic failure. With a 96% graduation rate and an NCES rating among the top 20% of public school districts in New York, the Sachem Central School District does not fit that profile. With 150 K-1 students at the rate of approximately $15,000 per student, Sachem stands to lose $2,250,000, plus the cost of transportation, textbooks, library materials, computer software, and health and welfare services. For the above listed reasons, the Sachem Council of PTA's Executive Committee resolves that we strongly oppose the opening of the South Shore Charter School or any charter school within the Sachem Central School District. Sincerely, Sachem Council of PTA's Executive Committee.
Thank you. Mr. Greg Kelly.
Hello, and thank you for providing us just this opportunity of the forum like this.
My name is Greg Kelly. I am an active member of the Sachem community. I am a proud product of the public school system, and I have been a public school teacher in a neighboring district for the last 21 years. I currently have 2 children attending the Sachem School District, one in Sagamore and one in Chippewa. Both of them have amazing experiences in these schools, and the opportunities offered to Sachem students are absolutely amazing. The administration and staff at both Chippewa and Sagamore are innovative, they're dedicated, and they're caring. One of my major concerns is that when districts get strapped for cash and they have to make tough financial decisions, the programs that ended up suffering for this are programs such as electives, clubs, arts, music, and the things that the kids care about the most. My question to the board is this: as a community, for those of us who are opposed to this, what can we do to help?
Want to answer that?
Of course, certainly. You can write to us at A Florio, as we posted tonight, and we will make sure that that information gets sent to the state as well. Make sure that you speak with local legislators as well, as you saw tonight, Assemblyman Doug Smith working with us. So I think that anytime we have opportunities such as this, where we invite community members to come and reach out, and I think a little bit it might be about educating our neighbors as well, making sure that they are aware of all that the district has to offer. It was mentioned tonight, many of the parents that are going over to the charter school are new parents, K-parents, and might not know what it is that Sachem has to offer. So thank you very much for asking.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, something we want to do is we want to send any comments and concerns of our residents up in one big package. So if you address a letter to A Florio at sachem.edu within the next, is it 2 weeks?
Actually running out of time, right, Mr. McCarthy?
15 days?
Hopefully by Thursday next week.
Yeah, so if you get it to us as soon as possible, we'll send it up as part of the big package. And thank you.
The PTAs are also having meetings on sending letters from each individual unit this week. So if anybody wants to be involved in their local PTA unit, you guys could all come together and advocate as well.
Mr. Peter Rayo?
Good evening. My name is Peter Rayo. I'm a longtime parent of the Sachem School District. My 2 older boys graduated from Sachem East 7 years ago, and my youngest son is registered for kindergarten this fall at Linwood Elementary. I'm proud of our schools, and I'm vehemently opposed to the establishment of a charter school in our community. Their lack of transparency and adherence to legitimate legal processes leads me to believe that this is more than just a temporary residency in Ronkonkoma, but an effort to establish a home here and siphon money from one of the largest school districts on Long Island. Their initial charter application was approved on the basis of perceived need within the Central Islip School District, not Sachem. In fact, there is no mention of or information pertaining to Sachem in their initial application at all. Yet here we are, a failed attempt to overcome obstacles in another community, and I've been at those hearings, sent them scrambling to establish roots elsewhere. Relocation in our school district should require consideration of whether or not the need here even exists. Should it not? Furthermore, there has been a lack of sufficient notice to all potentially impact districts during this application process. Instead, the application was pushed through in an effort to get approval without any consideration of the concerns raised by school districts and residents. I am opposed to the relocation of the South Shore School District, South Shore Charter School within our district, and ask that a thorough process be adhered to before granting any approvals. Thank you for your time and have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Rayo. Ms. Kim Thompson?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Kim Thompson. I'm a 10-year resident of Sachem. I grew up in Central Islip, so it tugs at my heart. And I grew up at Central Islip when we were in a, what do you call it? The budget wasn't passed.
Yeah.
Austerity, right. Thank you. We lost a lot of programs. So I get that feeling. I know what that's like. First of all, I also want to say thank you and congratulations to the Board of Ed that was reelected this year. Yay. Good for you. And thank you, Laura Slattery, for making me cry earlier. I appreciate that. Anyway, I just want to say one thing is that on Tuesday, May 16th, New Yorkers across the state sent a massive love letter to public education by passing 99% of all school budgets, by electing 85% of union-backed candidates, and electing 75 NYSUT, is that how you pronounce it, members. So Sachem also sent that love letter to public education by passing our budget and re-electing our board members. And I don't know, how long is that for? 3 years or something like that? I feel that a charter school located in Sachem is a slap in the face to us as taxpayers. You know, we just said we love public education. We just gave public education a vote of confidence. Despite all of the troubles that we've had and despite all of the news reports that we've had that children have suffered, we sent back a love letter saying, have at it, you have our support. Charter schools don't have to answer to the public taxpayer, even though we fund them. That we don't have that oversight. They have their own board that we don't get to pick. We practiced free and direct democracy on Tuesday by voting directly for a budget, by voting for candidates, and by voting for propositions. We will get none of that, okay? Charter schools also do not, as everyone has said before, or many people have said, they don't have to educate those that they do not want to. They can choose who they want to educate and who they want to get rid of. They would have gotten rid of Miss Slattery's child. I am sure of it. They would have gotten rid of many other children. I am sure of it. Is this what we want for our children? I don't think it is. I work in daycare. I meet those kids before they even come to the public education system. Okay? I get to see where they are. And it's a wonderful process. And I would hate for them to be affected negatively because the school district doesn't have services that they might need. They're only a couple of years away. I might have even been involved with some of those kindergartners, first graders. I don't know, because we don't know who they are. But the charter school is not a right fit. It is not a right fit for Sachem's children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Moth Madison.
Good afternoon, a pleasant good afternoon to the Sachem Board of Education and the Sachem School District, Dartmouth Madison. And I stand here as the proud founder and executive director of South Shore Charter School. South Shore Charter School was approved by SUNY, the State University of New York, and the New York State Department of Education to be located in the Central Islip School District to serve students in grades kindergarten through 5th grade. We're excited about our program and what it will offer students. And we're also very pleased to have the opportunity to meet the needs of our families. Our unique model offers a curriculum program focusing on character education and inquiry-based learning. We also proudly serve all students with special needs and also English language learners. Since our approval, we have diligently been working towards our permanent facility within our home school district. And recently, we requested to incubate in the Sachem School District temporarily until we finalize our permanent facility. So I just want to speak on behalf of our organization that this is indeed a temporary stay, that we are not looking to be here permanently at all. And we do appreciate the patience of the Sachem School District as we work towards our permanent home. And so I do appreciate this opportunity to speak. And I thank the Sachem School District for allowing this opportunity for us to have this discourse. Thank you. I've spoken to some district staff, and I look forward to, continuing to also have dialogue around any students that indicated that they wanted to be a part of our school community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Bennis. Lauren Muckatesh.
I recognize a lot of faces here tonight. I'm sure you recognize me. I'm a frequent flyer at these meetings. My name is Lauren Mukatash. I've lived in Ronkonkoma for 16 years. I'm a proud civil service employee in a neighboring school district, a member of my school's PTA, an active member of our local CYO program, and the mom of 2 Hiawatha Elementary students. I cannot speak to the quality of education offered in Central Islip School District, but all 15 Sachem schools are schools with it that are in good standing in New York State. Our graduation rate consistently hovers around 96%. My son's principal, Mr. Watson, spoke earlier about some of the phenomenal things happening in our elementary schools, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. As a parent of a special needs student, I was thrilled that Sachem residents approved a healthy increase to the funding for our special needs students in this upcoming year's budget. Yet Sachem will be on the hook for tuition of $14,661 per Sachem student who enrolls in South Shore Charter School. Transportation costs on average $2,000 per student in Sachem School District. On top of that, being a one-to-one device district, technology is another $500 to $800 per student at a minimum. Services for the ENL population and special needs students who attend the charter school will need to be duplicated at South Shore, meaning that services we offer, reading, AIS, OT, PT, speech services, one-on-ones, special education classrooms, ENL specific classes, which all already exist in Sachem, will then need to be replicated at South Shore. This takes funds away from Sachem students on top of all the costs associated with the funding for library materials, textbooks, tech, and health services. A school nurse is another $55,000 plus benefits for South Shore every year. I don't believe charter schools are the answer to low-performing schools, but that's a discussion for another day. I do not understand why Sachem and its taxpayers should be on the hook for funding a school which will be operated as a private entity. Sachem will have absolutely no oversight as to how our tax dollars are used. I dare someone to look me in the eye tonight and explain to me why my special needs 7-year-old should potentially see a reduction in his services because South Shore cannot procure a location in the town they applied to open a charter school. Thank you.
I apologize if I butcher this name. It's the last name is De Jesus. I can't make it the first name.
Thank you so much. My name is Jazz De Jesus.
Okay. It's-
It's
that's hard.
Caribbean. I've been living in this community for over 20 years. And I want to start off by letting you know I am for charter schools, even though I've had a child graduate from Sachem. And the reason that I want to bring to the table today and let a lot of people know that having a choice for all of us and anything that we want to do is it's a privilege, it's an opportunity. And as a parent, doing our due diligence to find out what Sachem has to offer or another school has to offer is important. I know that a lot of the discussion tonight was about funding and where we're going to take from, but Sachem has provided, the school district has provided an immense amount of resources throughout the years. And I don't think that a charter school from K through 5 is a threat at all, not even a little bit. In addition to special needs that they'll be offering, a lot of people have cleared out. A lot of things were discussed that were for the board, for New York State in general, where the funding has come from and how we were able to approve the charter school coming into Sachem. And fundamentally, if it was approved and given an opportunity, and there's a lot of diversity. I look around the room and my kids are all diverse. We're Caribbean. I really don't see anybody here that looks like my kids. And it's not about
Listen,
race.
Ms.
And
Davis,
I understand that you might want to come back for that, but there is a lot
Ms.
of
Davis, If
diversity.
you could just address the board, please.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot of diversity and different offerings when you have an opportunity to have a choice. And I just think that we need to address that would be an opportunity. We all like to have choices. And I think that a lot of people spoke about why we shouldn't. And a lot of people aren't talking about why we should, and those things just need to be addressed in a lot of different ways. And I really don't think that Sachem at all should have any feeling of threat. And I just feel like it seems like it's a threat, and I really don't think that it is, especially, and now they're saying that it's temporarily. And I understand that they wanted to procure a different establishment, and this is going to be a temporary situation, but maybe there's a lot of people that can afford the opportunity to start somewhere and then continue, because I don't think that anybody's not going to want to send their kids with the history of Sachem and everything they have to offer that is afforded to our children in many, many different areas.
Ms. Stacy, it's just for clarification purposes, the purpose of this hearing is because they were approved by the state, to service Central Islip students, a district that may be not performing to certain standards. And the whole concept is that they came to here for just residency to service those kids, but now are attracting Sachem kids in a district that is a high-performing district. So that's the function of this.
And I understand that, but just having the opportunity for them to be here. I mean, like I said, I've had a child graduate from Sachem, and I've also had a child that goes to charter school before, not in this district, that I was able to have. And so I've had the opportunity to do both. And, I'm not against public education. I'm just for the charter school and what they have to offer. And I think a lot of people don't have the full information,
Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. Miss Allison Sinecor?
Good evening. Thank you for offering a community the opportunity to speak. I rise tonight in opposition, strong opposition, to the addition of a charter school in our Sachem community. I am a lifelong Sachem resident, graduate, teacher, actually of Doug Smith, and mother of 3 current students. Besides that, I am dyed in the wool Sachem. I bleed red, black, and gold. I am here tonight to express my grave concerns for what the addition of a charter school will do to the community I so love, believe in, and advocate for. The only part of my life spent away from Sachem was my 4 years in college in Boston, a city with public school choice, and in many ways the birthplace of the American public school system. It was during that time in the 1990s that I first heard of charter schools. I sat in a small class about education policy with an expert on the topic, Professor Charles Glenn. One week, we read several articles and about vouchers and charter schools and had a lively discussion, productive discussion. The one point we all could agree on, whether we were for or against charter schools, was that charter schools damage and ruin public education. Public education is the cornerstone of the foundation of our nation. As a social studies teacher, I teach my students about this history, and I also teach them about how essential it is to have a well-informed and analytical electorate. The dog whistle cries of parental choice in this situation can distract us from the facts. Charter schools do not produce better educational outcomes for the students they serve. They siphon off precious funds from our public schools without accountability to the taxpayers, parents, or community. Having gotten to know teachers from all over the country when I was an undergraduate student in Boston, a graduate student, and then an employee of ETS, I know that some cities and states have abysmal school systems, and parents feel that charter schools are the best hope for their child's future. Suffolk County, Long Island, New York is no such place. Sachem Central School District is no such place. Please consider this community members, graduates, moms, teachers concerned about the detrimental impact that this charter school will have on the vast majority of our most precious commodity, our Sachem students. Please see this as an attempt to defund public education and continue to widen the gaps we already have. I am proud of Sachem, and I know that Sachem can continue to grow, innovate, and thrive. This charter school will hinder that progress and have a compounding negative effect on our students. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Sinclair. Elizabeth Tejada.
Good evening to the board and to the Sachem community. I stand here as an educator of 27 years and a proud member of the Sachem community. And I want to say that as a community member, I am very angry about the fact that this charter school seems to be allowed to operate in this community without the approval of the community. Whether I like it or not, Sachem has a loud voice, and it is important that our voice be heard. I appreciate the gentleman that came up to represent the South Shore Charter School, but I don't appreciate the fact that he spoke as though this was a done deal. And this is not a done deal without the approval of the Sachem community. In addition to that, I'll say that what I'm most proud of that Sachem has offered me is the ability to say how proud I am that my minority students here in the Sachem community have had an education that has taken them places. I have a student that graduated in 2020, and he was top 10 at Sachem East. And that is proudful for me. I have a sophomore who attends Binghamton University, and he unfortunately only made it to top 26. In addition to that, my daughter is currently a sophomore at Sachem East, very much into her gymnastics career. And I have had the support of Mr. Antonetti, of Mrs. Hines, of all the administrators in the buildings and the guidance counselors to help her have a successful academic career, as well as an extremely successful gymnastics career. Working together as a team has been the most wonderful thing for my daughter. I don't know if a charter school would offer that same thing, but I can confidently say that I would not look for that anywhere else. Sachem has what I need. In addition to that, I'll say that accountability is really important. Like I said, an educator for 27 years,
whether we like it or not. The fact that we have to be accountable to the state helps us to be better, helps us to continue to grow. The fact that teachers are mandated to have PD every year makes them better teachers. I don't know that a charter school would also have that requirement. So simply, I think it's disrespectful to our community that this South Shore charter school wants to sneak into our backyard and build a shed without our approval. And we cannot allow to make that happen. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Tejada. Ms. Carol Lachlan.
Good evening, board members and community. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but obviously by the way I'm dressed, but I really felt compelled to get up to speak. Next month, I will be at my house for 22 years. My Sachem career started in 2006 with my daughter at Winona. She got her love of music at Winona with the great staff. All my kids had the same kindergarten teacher. As my daughter progressed in high school, Mr. Carroll was her hero, her mentor. She did marching band. She was loving music. Well, fast forward a few years, she graduated in 2019, and she is almost done finishing up her studies at Fredonia University, where she is on the dean's list, majoring to become a music teacher thanks to Sachem and their inspiration. With my middle son, who is almost 19, during COVID, he wanted to graduate a year early. The staff at Sachem North was wonderful, got him all the classes he needed, and boom, my son graduated 1 year early. So during the pandemic and everything, he was out of there. So he's doing wonderful, which brings me to my special ed. We're against charter schools because Sachem, if we didn't like Sachem, we wouldn't be here for 22 years. So this is my special ed student, and he went to Winona as well. And he's just gotten all the services that he needs. And now at the high school level, Miss Ruggiero and Miss Roel are magnificent with him. Anything he needs, he gets. He has an IEP. They've mixed him around to get him the right combination of classes. He wants to get a Regents diploma like Michael, and he's very inspired by Michael as well. We've made a lot of great friends, and I don't believe that charter schools belong in Sachem. I want my tax dollars to stay here. I don't want another cut of everything. We lost library, we had sports, cut, the music program, everything 10 years ago. I don't want to repeat. And I'm sitting back there having flashbacks of 2013. And I don't want to go through that again. My children had a wonderful experience. And if I didn't like Sachem, we would have been gone years ago. But they're a wonderful district. So thank you. And please keep the charter schools out. My son would like to say something.
Thank you, Mom. That was a very good speech. That was very good.
Oh, and I have one more thing to add too. Hurry up.
Okay. As a student who is currently in two 15-1 classes, found out at a very young age that I had both ADD and ADHD. I am strongly, if there were bigger words to describe how against the charter school I am, I would be using them right here, right now. And,
He's not done yet, Ms. Lachlan.
if there were bigger words to, like I said, if there were bigger words to describe how, against the charter school I am, I would be using them right now to describe, I don't think it is a good idea that, we should be, because I have a question. What does this mean for people like me who are in 15-1 classes? Does this mean we can't we would get cut or something?
Let me ask a question real quick. What's your name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy, this is the Sachem family. you're a part of that Sachem family.
Thank
No
you.
matter what, we're going to take care of you and your family. Okay? Don't worry about that, buddy.
Yes.
Now, I have a question too. Being that this charter school is from Central Islip, I'm very familiar with Central Islip. My in-laws live in East Islip, so we always go down Carlton Avenue to go visit the in-laws. There's an abandoned university in between the condos, the golf course, and Duck Stadium. Why aren't they using that until their building is started? They have established buildings there. Why are they impeding on our district and taking our funds away? They're going to build on Carlton anyway. The abandoned college is right on Carlton too. Go build there.
Thank you, Ms. Lockman.
Thank you, Jimmy.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Mark Salzano.
Good evening, board. Laura, I'll invite you to a barbecue, I promise. No disrespect, okay? Thanks for having me up here. I have two kids, one Jordan, the other one Carly. Jordan went to a private school with disability. She did fairly well. She did very well, actually. She's an occupational therapy program in college. And my daughter Carly's a senior at North, and she's excelling, and we love this school district. So I'm just going to start off by saying that I am for both a charter school and public schools. Okay, so the main reason I think this charter school thing had come up, and I learned something tonight too regarding charter schools. I didn't realize they were only put in a location that maybe schools weren't performing well. I didn't know that. So that was good learning tonight for me. But I think one of the why, why, who, what, when, where, why, I'm not sure, but I know that I believe that the reason that the charter schools came into play, and you hear a little bit more about them, is because of what happened during COVID. And with, I'm going to say it, I know it's the elephant in the room, but the whole woke culture thing. Whatever side you're on, but I think that that's what the big push is. Okay, so with that, my question, I guess, for the board here, and I'm not sure if anyone can answer it, but I'm just going to throw it out there, is before the question, let me just say this. I'm in the private sector, and I believe in competition. I hate it sometimes because it forces me and it forces companies and things like that to do better, to improve, to change pricing, to improvise from time to time, and to customize and grow and improve. And I've learned through the years that as much as I hate competition, competition can be a good thing. It could be a motivator. So we've heard all night how great our school district is, and boy, I'm 100% behind that. We are fantastic. However, my question for the board is, in fact, I think we're phenomenal based on whatever I've heard from everybody, and to see how my kid's doing in school here. But my question is to the board: are we afraid of competition? And can competition and school choice allow for us to improve, tweak, modify, and possibly look at how we can become better, even though we are phenomenal, and possibly become extraordinary? So I'm just going to ask the board if anybody can answer that question.
I'll give you my personal answer.
Please.
Look, I agree. Competition is good, and we are in competition, because we are in competition with districts that are outstanding. We're in competition with Jericho. We're in competition with Roslyn and Smithtown and Ward Melville. Okay, that's what we inspire. We're working towards the levels that they're at. But I don't know that a charter school is competition for us. I'm not in the business world, okay, but I've been on this board for 15 years, okay, over the last 17 years. And I've seen the effects of losing funds, okay, and the impact that it has on our programs. I've sat in auditoriums where there were 900 people in the auditoriums, and we had to break the news as a result of a loss of revenue, really what's going to happen here, that we had to lay off 200 staff members, okay, and increase class sizes beyond numbers that Sachem's ever seen. And that's the concern we have, is sustainability. We don't get $14,000 per child from the state in state aid. If we did, we'd be getting $81 million in state aid. We get $135 million. And that doesn't include the cost of busing and nursing and all the other stuff that comes along with that. So I think competition is good if you're competing against a school that's on the same level playing field. And not necessarily on the same level playing field when you get to cherry pick the types of the students that you want in that school.
I understand. I don't know how much time
And
I have.
I don't,
left.
I don't,
Rob,
yeah,
But-
yeah, Mr. Reynolds, and then
So just to respond, right? So I too am in the private sector. I'm in technology sales in New York City, fiercely competitive. I compete every day for the last 30 years, right? So I get it. When this was first brought up, I had the same reaction as you. Competition's good. But once I dug into it, and Sabrina can attest, she shared a whole bunch of information. It's not fair competition, right? Put a level playing field out there and we'll compete. There's competition all over Long Island. People come and move to this district to come into this school, right? So let's have a fair playing field. That's competition. This is not competition, right? This is unfair advantage.
Okay. All right. I understand. Okay, I just
I think there were
what-
just a couple
just
of board
one-
members that just wanted to add to that, Laura.
Just,
I-
just quickly, and again, I apologize for that, but I just want to let you know, I grew up in the Sachem School District. My parents gave us a choice. I chose Catholic school, so I went to St. John the Baptist. My parents paid tuition. My daughter went to Catholic elementary school, actually at St. Joseph's and St. Mary's in East Islip. I paid for her tuition. My sister lives in Manhasset, probably one of the best districts. Her kids went all through Catholic school. My nephew's graduating Chaminade at $20,000 a year, and my niece graduated St. Mary's at $15,000 a year. And they chose those two schools because they felt it had a better education and more diversity than their public school. So that was their school choice, to pay Manhasset taxes, but still pay a tuition for a school that they had a choice in. As Vinny just said, as Rob just said, a charter school is using public funds in a private education that does not have to follow the same regulations, oversight, and things that we do. A charter school, when you apply or your child applies, they do not have to accept your child. A public school, as I said before, public education, free and appropriate for all. That is what a public school offers. So that is the level playing field. So yes, there is school choice. I never, although I paid for Catholic school for my daughter, I never supported vouchers. Why didn't I support vouchers? Because I knew my son was getting the education I wanted in Sachem. And that is why I do not want to hurt public education.
I understand. Just one thing. I appreciate that.
Go
Just
ahead.
so for us in the group. So basically, charter schools take money away from our school district.
Correct.
Whereas other types of schools like
You
Catholic
pay.
schools and whatever do not.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob, I was going to add. That's okay. I was just going to add to your comment, being in the private sector like Mr. Reynolds and Meredith. I look at it as from a private sector analogy, and I don't fund my competition. Okay.
Right.
Right. In a fair, competitive private sector world, you work in a private sector.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
don't fund your competition.
No,
Here,
but we have to be better than our competition to get the business.
Yeah,
It's
but you
not
don't
just
actually fund it to try to make them better, right? You don't fund them.
No,
I
we
don't. I
No,
don't
no.
fund my
Yeah.
competition. So
Uh-huh.
that's
Yeah, right.
that's
No,
why that,
see, that's the
that's why that
analogy.
analogy that drives me crazy.
Got it.
Thank you.
Sorry, before you go, I just have, okay, so you know I'm in sales too, right?
Now I do.
Without Pepsi, there would be no Coke. So we love competition.
Right.
And yeah, we do hate competition sometimes. And to address the other woman, we're not scared of the competition. We're not afraid of it. But like everybody else said, we don't want to fund it. We're not looking
I understand.
to put these children, and believe me, I understand the elephant in the room. I know that there are problems with the public education system. I'm not going to deny that.
Right.
I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate where you're coming from. And in many aspects, I feel the same way. And I'm sure that that's no secret to anybody in this room either.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks,
Dr.
everybody.
Pelletieri?
Mr. Salzano, 1 second, please.
You asked the question.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
I
think we're all learning from it too.
Almost a plant, right? But I thank you so much I have 34 years in education almost. I know part of that is probably when I was in my 12, 13 years as a student, but I will say that I have never been driven more by competition than by this team here, administrators, board members, and community members. That to me is the competition I face every single day in this community. So thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank you.
Preshta Bagara. I'm sorry if I said it wrong.
Hello, my name is Drashta Bogra. I'm a junior at Sachem North, and I want to share my experience as a high school student and my opinion on this topic. So I have experienced firsthand what it's like to, like what the cuts were. I was a gate lot student. I didn't get to finish my 5th grade at gate lot, and it hurt me a lot emotionally, not, physically. I'm fine now. Louder, okay. So in 5th grade, of course, I was devastated by gate lot, and I had to move on to Hiawatha, which was a great opportunity for me. I made friends there, and I am happy with how my experience there came out. I was below the reading level in 5th grade, and because of the program that Hiawatha had, because of the help I got, I am now, I ended up above the reading level, and now I am an honors student and an AP student. I took seminar last year and AP Lang this year, and I feel that because our elementary program is so strong, we do not need a charter school in that aspect. I'm also a hardworking student here at North. I spend a lot of time in school. I co-founded a club and I founded another club. I'm an advocate for women's rights. And I've had huge successes in music. I've been to all county, and I have advocated for feminine products to be supplied in the bathrooms, and I started that initiative when I was in 10th grade last year. Not only me, my sister, who is an alumni here, she's right there. She is an amazing student. She graduated 3rd in her class, and that was even with taking a class that didn't have any weight. She did band for all 4 years and was first chair for 3 of them. Yeah. She's been to all county, she's been to all Eastern, and she also got into the BSMD program at Stony Brook, which is basically like getting into Harvard for med kids. Okay, this is insane. I want to say that if kids were like us, were able to accomplish this much in a school like Sachem, and don't get me wrong, Sachem is, we have amazing programs, we have amazing teachers. There's still work done, and I'd be happy to share my concerns on that on a later date. But we don't need a charter school. How is it fair that we're giving funding to a school that's better and then taking away from a school funding from a school that might need it? I don't want to have anyone go through the cuts again. I did not like it, and I know Mrs. Hands, I cried when I saw the pictures of Waddles in the pic. I cried, and she was kind enough to let me take one home, and I look at it every night, and I am so grateful for my experience because it's hanging up in my room. I don't think that this charter school is needed in our district. I feel that funding that we're giving to charter schools could be better spent within our district. We could reform our own policies. We can reform our own education system. It should not be given to another school. In addition to this, I have a question from my sister, since I'm speaking for the both of us here. For those who are advocating for a choice, the choice to go to a better school, the choice to go to charter school, even if the charter school was anywhere else on Long Island, you still had the opportunity to go there. So why does it need to be in our district? For now, that's all I have to say. I feel I made my point, and thank you for your time.
Pressure. Excellent job. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
I would love for you to run for the Board of Ed as soon as you turn 18, please.
Pressure, just so you know, also, those cuts, my hair was black before those cuts. I have pictures, but yeah, but I understand what you're saying. Thank you. Elizabeth Van.
Good evening. I am a proud public school teacher in a neighboring school district. I teach special education. I'm a Sachem graduate and I have 3 children in Sachem. I am very opposed to this charter school. In my understanding, charter schools profit from education, which absolutely should not be a part of education. Private corporations should not have their hands in education. They should not be making money off of education. I looked through the website for this South Shore Charter School. I saw a lot of jargon, a lot of buzz terms that are high in education right now, but nothing about an actual curriculum, nothing about what will actually be taught, how it will be taught, how they will address all of these special education students that they're trying to poach from our district. And to me, it looks like a money grab. They're trying to get special ed students. They want to take the money, the funding that they're going to get for those students, and then say, oh, we actually don't have the resources to educate them. Here, you can go back to your home school district. So to me, there is no choice, because I don't even know what it is that they're teaching these children, or how they're teaching them. The website is very unclear. So yes, I think we should have choice, and the choice should be whether or not we want this charter school in our community. And right now, it seems like we have no choice in that. And I think we should have a say where our tax dollars go. Right now, we are able to see in our budget where the money is going. If we have this charter school, they don't have to answer to the community. They don't have to answer to a board. We don't know where they're spending this money. And if you look through the website, they're supported by several private corporations, including SUSA and a few other ones. To me, that's not a public education. I don't know how they can call themselves a public charter school. Just doesn't make sense to me. So that's all I had to say.
Can I ask you a quick question? So you said you're a special ed teacher.
Yes.
Can you tell me, because I don't really honestly know the 100%, what education you have and what certifications you have?
Sure. I have my undergraduate degree in special education. I have a I have a master's degree in reading literacy. I am certified in Wilson and Orton Gillingham reading programs. So all of those programs come in handy when I teach my students.
So if you applied for a job, you would have to have some certifications, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you applied for a job and it said that one of the qualifications was valid New York State teaching certification preferred, have you ever applied for a job that told you they prefer you to have it, but you don't really?
No, I would
have to?
definitely have to show my teaching certification.
Okay. Bachelor's degree required, master's degree preferred in education or something else.
Oh, that's nice. No, I had to have a master's degree within 5 years of getting my undergraduate degree.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure.
And I also had to pay in order to get Wilson certified, in order to get Orton certified, and I couldn't just teach those reading programs without that certification. I could teach it, but I wouldn't be doing it with validity.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Van.
See, that was Meredith's sales qualification skills on display. Great
I was
job,
wondering what
Meredith.
you were doing over there.
It,
From a
yeah,
fellow
it came right off of
salesperson,
their
I
website.
appreciate that.
It comes right off their website. If you want to be employed by them, all you have to do. So me, who dropped out of high school, could probably get a job teaching those kids. Sad.
All right, Rachel Silverman.
Hello, Dr. Pelletieri, the rest of the board, and everybody else in the room. My name is Rachel Silverman. I am a class of 2020 graduate from Sachem North. I just finished my 3rd year at Marist College studying education. I'm currently in a 5-year, 4+1 5th-year master's program, so I will be graduating with my bachelor's degree next year, where I will be dually certified in childhood education grades 1 through 6, as well as special education grades 1 through 6. Additionally, I chose to add on a birth through 2nd grade, so I will be certified pretty much B through 6 overall. And then the following year, I will be graduating with my master's degree in contemporary curriculum and instruction with courses I have started now.
Mrs. Hines, get the resume, all right, please.
I'm trying. That's the dream. So I wanted to come up and talk. I wasn't planning on it, but anyone who knows me knows when I care about something, I am not quiet. And I wanted to come up and talk because I feel I have a unique perspective on this because I was a Sachem student. But as I mentioned, I added an optional birth through second grade certification. Sorry, I don't have anything in front of me. I didn't plan on speaking. And I was lucky enough to do my optional certification allowed us to do our student teaching at home because it's not required. I was lucky enough to do my student teaching here at Sachem in Cayuga. If anyone remembers getting that paperwork from Marist College last year, that was me. So thank you for that. And I was able to come back and student teach in Cayuga with my sister's kindergarten teacher and work in a school for a month, 4 weeks, in a school that I did not think I could love anymore. And I was wrong because I loved school as a kid. I loved it as a student. Every teacher I had was amazing. Everyone, I feel like most people have like some horror story of some teacher they had growing up. I don't have that. I don't know if that's a luck thing. Most likely, I think that's a Sachem thing. I'm just really proud of where I came from. And as on the teacher side of things, not as a teacher, not a teacher yet, but as an aspiring educator, seeing how much these teachers care for their students, how collaboratively they work together, how everyone in that building is doing, and every building, I'd assume, is doing what they can to make sure everything is the best for their students. The teachers that want to be there, the teachers that eat lunch together and collaborate about their students, and they're not hiding in their rooms and they're not getting through the day waiting to leave, but they're happy to be there. That is what I want for myself for the next 50-something years when I'm teaching. I do not want to be in a place where nobody wants to be there, where people are like, oh, like another day. I want to be somewhere where there's a strong sense of community like Sachem. And I know that we've said it. I don't think I need to convince anybody in this room about how strong our community is, but for New York State, who will hopefully be watching this long into it, we really do have that strong sense of community. When my friends ask me about my district, my friends that are from upstate, that's how I explain to them. It's a sense of community. That is the first thing. And I just think that we have such an amazing program and such an amazing, strong community that we don't need anything else. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Ms. Esserny? Hold on, Rachel. There's a question for you.
Well, actually, it was a comment about something Rachel said, even though it was kind of off the cuff. I hope people took notice of it. Is a Sachem product whose dream is to teach here. That's what this is all about. That's the manifestation of what you guys do. That's the product right there.
She's applying to our special ed program this summer to help out there, so.
Andrea Godoy? Godoy? Did I say it right? Andrea? Gadav? It's a little bit, no? I will come back to it. Jackie Janovich?
Good night, girls. I see you leaving. School tomorrow. Yep. Thank you. Good night.
Hi, I'm Jackie Shine Granavage. I am standing before you as a proud Sachem graduate. I am the product of public school. I got my strong foundation at Hiawatha, participated in spelling bees, geography competitions, went on to graduate from Sachem North as a varsity athlete, participant in the drama club, and AP student. Some of my teachers are here today, and I appreciate them. When I became an adult and my husband and I were looking to buy a house, we were deciding between his school district or my school district. And every time he would get something wrong, I'd say, well, a shame you're not a Sachem graduate. And I won. And we bought a house in Holbrook. And my 1-year-old son will, in 4 years, go to Grundy Elementary School.
Wow.
So it's interesting to me that the charter school and the pro-charter school people are here to talk about choice. Because I chose Sachem School District for my family and not for myself, but I was lucky enough to have that choice made for me by my dad. and mom and everyone else. But I think it's interesting that they're going to tell me about choice, because most people in this room did not choose to have the charter school come to our district. So if we talk about choice, I chose Sachem, not South Shore Charter School. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robert Ciani.
I'm an admitted interloper here. I'm not going to lie. However, my son isn't an interloper here. My son actually is, he goes to school right next door. You have an Eastern Suffolk BOCES. That Eastern Suffolk BOCES, and by the way, I really am very appreciative of all of you being a part of welcoming my son into your neighborhood. Now, my understanding is, because I'm also a teacher of 23 years. Now, that school, they pay, you're reimbursed for that space, aren't you? For Eastern
You're
Suffolk
talking about
BOCES?
Samoset?
Yeah.
Yes, they rent space.
Right.
Okay, for a program to integrate special
So-
needs students with.
So in being a good neighbor and you welcoming them in, the district is also reimbursed. They're not a burden on the district in being there. And I think that one of the things that's important to note in all of this is that this is a community. And my son was invited into your community. My son, and I'm very grateful for it. To be honest, you've taken very good care of him, and he feels a part of the Sachem community. He's never been happier at school than he has been here. And one of the things I have to say in being a part of a community is that I've never been in this room before. I can tell by the look of the carpet, it wouldn't be a place I'd want to bring a glass of grape juice, because my mom taught me keep grape juice away from carpets, but it's a very nice place. And I could tell by the discourse that you all have with one another in the room that this is a community that people aren't shy here. I'm right next door in Smithtown. They're not too shy there either. But in being not so shy, I have to say, you have a lot of ideas that go back and forth here. And those ideas that go back and forth here seem to have really shaped some amazing programs. I see family after family coming up, and children, students from your district coming up to this microphone and talking about what an impact this district has had. And especially to my special education parent tribe in the room, we know how much that means. It means the difference between our children being independent as adults or being very dependent as adults. It's life-changing. And in being so successful, I have to say, I'm going to quote Al Shanker. And for those of you who don't know Al Shanker was the first president of the United Federation of Teachers in New York City. And one of the things he always said was, you're free to swim in the public pool, but don't expect the taxpayer to build one in your own backyard. And I feel like that is what we're talking about here. We're talking about a district, a community that has worked together to build something really special here, and that my son is a part of. And I'm very grateful to this community. And it was worth the trip coming down here to say, you deserve and need those dollars to make the decisions that this district needs to be successful. You know where those tax dollars need to be spent on these students. You have been elected by the community to serve. You're clearly all doing a very good job of servicing the community. And for a law that will allow, through some cockamamie loophole, to move into this district and siphon funds away from the programs that you have built for these children, that means the difference between a child being independent as an adult or being dependent on their family and the state as an adult, is disgusting. And I want you to know that I am also a friend of the Sachem Teachers Association. And I do a lot of work with the local unions as a teacher and as, well, a union guy. And I want you to know that whatever Sachem needs, we're here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Melissa Tedeschi.
Good evening, everybody. For those that don't know me, I'm Melissa Tedeschi. Many of you have either spoken to me, dealt with my husband, David. When we moved into this community in 2009, I didn't want to be here in Sachem. Sachem was the last place I wanted to be because I was afraid my children were going to get lost. Now, here we are, I don't know how many years later. My son, my 19-year-old, graduated last year, did very well, all APs, honors, advanced Regents diploma. Oh, he went away to school, but now he's back, but going to St. Joe's, working, doing phenomenal. Then we have my amazing 16-year-old who's 10th grade at North, who blew out her knee in 9th grade, lost basketball for 2 years. Who got her back up there, got her back on the court? One of the top scorers last year, or this year, Sachem. Her friends, this community. No one asked for a charter school to come here. We are by far not underperforming. We don't have a need here. We are doing amazing the way we are. Then we also have my little 8-year-old who unfortunately needed lots and lots of services, of which I knew nothing about, didn't know anything. Cried on Meredith's shoulder, went to her, went to many amazing people here at Sachem to help me and figure out what he needed. Sachem gave him every service, not a fight, not an argument. He's now, when he started kindergarten, pandemic, it was a disaster. But we lived over by Nokomis previously, so I know all the amazing teachers over at Nokomis. But we were now Grundy. I didn't know a soul. Sachem, special ed, put him in Nokomis, where I was gonna feel comfortable. Denise Kleiman, to this day, will still answer any text message regarding my son. Any questions I have. Guide me any way when I don't know what to say, when I don't know what to do. I'm notorious for putting my foot in my mouth, which is, my husband was afraid, which is why I wasn't here earlier. I was sitting at the dinner table and I'm like, I have to go. I need to go. And he said, just watch, don't put your foot in your mouth. We also own 2 businesses here, thriving businesses here. Thank you to the community. We support each other. This is a family. A charter school coming in here is not what we need. We don't want it. I don't want my taxpayer money going to anything that doesn't help my child. And if that sounds what I'm looking for, selfish, so let me be selfish. I pay $11,000 in taxes for my new home. It needs to stay here. I do not want to see what my son went through when we had to close buildings. I don't want to see us lose anything because without sports, my daughter, you probably would have to deal with her on the mental side because during COVID, she was losing it not having basketball. And my son, he sat and gamed all day. There was nothing to do. And then when the schools opened up, it was amazing. But my taxpayer dollars went to that. You guys spend the taxpayer dollars appropriately. I don't want to see it go to a charter school that's very sneaky, in my opinion, trying to throw it in our backyards, because that is wrong. I originally, when the charter school came up, I was seeing it all over Facebook. I did look into it. What was it about? I knew nothing of it. I hear in New York City, they're amazing. So it all said Central Islip. It said it was going to be Central Islip students. It was going to be a touch run out there. They needed it. Okay. And then all of a sudden, a week and a half ago, your phone call, your email, Dr. P. What is going on here? And now it's only stated for Sachem schools. And it's trying to take kids like my son, take the funds away from my son and my daughter and my family that needs it. We don't want it. We don't need it. It doesn't belong here. We are not performing, there's no reason. And if you want to believe that the 2 years, because if I was a parent who was putting my child into the charter school, I wouldn't want you taking my kid in 2 years and moving him somewhere else. So you're going to get cushy and stay here. And we don't want it. It's not needed. And I hope the community comes together and stands behind, because we should have done better tonight and more should have been here tonight.
I have one more card, and I called on this person. I don't know if this person's still here, but Andrea Godoy. Is she here? No? Okay. In closing, I'm going to give the board an opportunity to speak. I know that me personally, I had some questions that I asked earlier, but I didn't speak as a parent and as a resident of Sachem. I want to have an opportunity to do that, but I want to open up to the board to at least provide some closing statements. Many of the board members here have gone through the Sachem school districts, have graduated Sachem schools, chose to raise their family here and give their children the same experiences they had. So I want to give the board members an opportunity to speak before we close this meeting. All right, Mr. Reynolds, and then Meredith, get your hand up.
Thanks, Rob. Just wanted to sort of go back to the founder of the charter school that was here, right? I think he came up here and talked about how the fact that this was temporary. Well, if it's temporary, I think to Ms. Tedeschi's point, why is he targeting our students? So what's going to happen to our students in 2 years, let's say, when he gets his permanent location? So I find it a little disingenuous to come up here and tell us that it's temporary, yet he's targeting all of our kids. So I don't know if he wants to respond to that, or that's just, kind of was starting to think about that, right? It's temporary, but what's going to happen in 2 years? So.
Any comments about Meredith?
Maybe no comment, I don't know.
If you want,
He wants to respond to that. So he doesn't want to respond. He's shaking no, so he doesn't want to respond.
You want to
so.
address that
Yeah.
question or no?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
So, Mr. Madison, I was going to also address you. First of all, I want to thank you for being in the room and staying in the room. It takes somebody with thick skin to stay here for a few hours and only have 1 or 2 people support what you want. Trust me, I have been there. So I do appreciate you coming, and I do appreciate you talking about the school. What I can't say I appreciate is that you do say it's temporary, but yet you didn't find temporary housing in centralized slip. And believe me, I'm sure that there are plenty of places. I don't understand why you chose Sachem. Part of me wants to understand why you chose Sachem. Part of it is because, honestly, of all the people who spoke tonight, Sachem is a community with capital unity at the end. That's what we do. We stand up, we come together. We're a great community to raise children. I'm kind of an outsider. I met my husband. He grew up here. He's never lived a day out of the Sachem community in 53 years. And I find it ironic because they beat us in the county championships in field hockey in 1989. Still hold a little bit of a grudge, but I find it ironic that when I met him, there was no question as to whether we were going to live in Baldwin or we were going to live in Holbrook. It was always Holbrook. And my friends from Baldwin find it ironic that I'm on the school board here. But I can tell you right now, as much as I spent most of my life, my early life in Baldwin and bled blue and gold, I am now very proud to say that I am happily in the Sachem community for over 20 years. I've served on this board. This is my 4th year. I lost a race. I came back because I wanted to serve the children of this community. The kids always come first to me. And I just can't see how, in your eyes, and I wish you would look at me when I speak with you, because I really honestly do talk about our children. I know a lot of people are talking about finances, and you can't really give to these children if you don't have the right finances to do so. And I'm sure in your heart, you're trying to give something wonderful to children, and I do appreciate that. But our children already have everything they need. They have a huge community with big hearts. They have people who come together and really take on every single child. I have an athlete. I have 2 special ed children. I have kids that are so different from one another that my 3 sons, you wouldn't even know that they're actually related sometimes. And when we moved within the district, I thought I was moving from a Merrimack to a Merrimack. And I was devastated to find out when my oldest son was in 4th grade that we were moving to Grundy. And I'll tell you right now, my experience at Merrimack was amazing. I cried when I came to register my son and found out that the house we bought was not in Merrimack. And I'll tell you right now, I'm a Grundy Eagle, and I love Grundy just as much as Merrimack. And every school I've ever entered in this community, and I've been into every one of the 15 schools in this district, is the same exact feeling. You're a Grundy Eagle, you're a Hiawatha Husky. No matter where you are in this community, you are Sachem. And we have our little Sachem East, Sachem North rivalry. At the end of the day, we are all Sachem. And I really wish that the children didn't feel the need to enroll, the 20 that did. And I really hope that some of them will watch this board meeting and realize that they don't really need to go to you, because we'll give them everything they need.
Laura, again, I'm going to go last.
Okay, so just quickly, because I think I said all I need to say, but again, I support our Sachem family. I was a CSE parent advocate, parent member for a long time. So kids that could not get the education that they needed here, we did place them in other BOCES programs, other programs that they needed. I've seen that. I chose to raise my children in Sachem. My husband grew up in East Islip. He wanted to raise his children in East Islip. I chose to raise my children here. Although I grew up here, I went to Catholic school. I wanted the Sachem community for both my children. My son, and I will tell this to everybody, and they've heard me say it, would never be the person he is today. I see some of the moms whose kids played lacrosse with him, who treated him as one of their own, who invited him to parties, who gave him a social life. I see that he now goes out as a 26-year-old to all the local restaurants, bars, has this community embrace him in a way I could never, ever, ever describe how it means when you raise a child who has needs like my son and is now happy, living a fulfilled life, independent, that I never thought would be possible. And that is because of our Sachem teachers, community, parents. Thank you.
Sabrina?
As a board member, I think we're very lucky that we get to kind of see all of the buildings and all the wonderful things that go on. I know all the board members, we've gone to so many events this past year. We just had the Special Olympics students here and honoring them. And if that doesn't feed your soul, I don't know what will. Concerts, Ms. Trombetta is, sending us pictures from all the different games, the lacrosse games that are going on. I'm sending pictures from concerts and the champion band, marching band coming home, and the fire department bringing them in. Going to see the spelling bee the other day at Tamarack. We get our foot in every single door, and we get to see all the wonderful things that are happening in Sachem. And I am the biggest critic too, and I would be the first one to say, this is something we need or don't need, and we don't. I see kids that are thriving. I see kids that are getting accepted to summer programs at Brown University, and kids that are spending their summers studying cancer, doing cancer research in other countries. We have amazing things going on, and we have kids doing amazing things, and that is not the sign of failure. That's not the sign of a NETA charter. And I'm proud of the wonderful work that we're doing. I know that there's still progression that we have to, happen. I think good discussions are happening. We have board members here that are huge advocates. We have community members that are very vocal, but also at the same time willing to jump on a committee to give feedback and work hard and say, what do you need? We're there, we'll be there. So this is a community that is growing and we're progressing. And I just hope I want to see that continue and not have to face any fiscal implications and where we have to make some decisions that will hurt our students in the long run. So that was the final thing. I appreciate all the things that we get to see.
Ms. Volpe?
So I hate public speaking, and I put myself in a position where I have to do it regularly, and forgive me if I stutter. But I was a Catholic school kid who begged their parents to leave, and I got the opportunity to go to Sachem North. And one of the things that I tend to be more private when talking about my own kids, my own journey, everything, because I like to advocate for all. So I'll give you a little backstory on me and why this is so important to me, that it doesn't happen the way it's happening. After begging my parents to please get me out of Catholic school, one of the things I realized even as a kid was I was only seeing one side of the picture. I was seeing a filtered view of the world. And, I wanted to see guys with long hair. Do not, forget the metalhead that I was. But I did realize that I was getting a weird view of the world, and I begged. And my parents were religious, and they wanted me to stay in Catholic school, but they gave in, and I was lucky to go to North. Life-changing. I realized that feeling was valid, and the exposure I got to different things and the opportunity I was just given in electives was incredible. And I have to shout out that Mr. Straykosh, who taught photography, gave me my love and my career for 20 years that a lot of people don't even know that I did, because I'm the special needs mom. I'm the mom that comes out and advocates for the kids. I'm the parent member. I'm the one that's the expert on what you need if your kid has severe disabilities. So no one knows Steph, the photographer who worked with kids for over 20 years, and that was because of Sachem. That's because, and I'm going to get emotional, but breath, public speaking. That's because of Mr. Straykosh, and I hope he sees this, because it gave me a passion, it gave me a career, it gave me a way to feed myself, my family, everything. That's because of public education. That wasn't because of Catholic school. They didn't give me the opportunity to be a photographer at Catholic school. I could have taken, and no offense to these two classes, home ec and typing. Can I type? Absolutely not. Can I cook? Yes, but that wasn't because of home ec. It's because I taught myself and Food Network. So I also have two kids. I know for a fact, day one, and I love my children to death, they would be back here the second day. Take them to a charter school, drop them off. First of all, my son's needs are so severe, my first one. No one can handle it the way Sachem did and BOCES. I'm a BOCES parent. Incredible for my son. Fortunately and unfortunately for him, he will be a kid that's going to be on the system for the rest of his life. And one of the goals that everyone had at Sachem, from Dr. Hartman to everybody at Eastern Suffolk BOCES, was that Chris was going to live a full, happy life. And he's doing that. And he's in a pre-vocational program now at an amazing program in Babylon. He's a success story. Is he going to need help his entire life? Absolutely. That's okay. He's still a success. My other is a athlete in Sachem East who forgets to hand in his homework religiously and will give me more gray hair than Chris ever did. But the support he gets here is incredible. Love him. He doesn't want me to talk about him, so I will not talk about him anymore. The other thing I need to mention that we did not focus on enough, our PTA in Sachem is unrivaled. The experiences I was able to volunteer and give my children match none other. And we've had strangers from other districts ask us how we do it. Just that alone is worth keeping your kid in Sachem. What we've been able to, the experiences, and I will brag, I brought a planetarium into Merrimack's, an inflatable planetarium into Merrimack's gym. How we pulled that off? No idea. The kids loved it. We were all dying of heat stroke. It was one of the most greatest memories that I have with my children. Glomingo. We made Merrimack's cafeteria into a nightclub and an educational experience. How? No idea. It was the PTA. So the community we have here is just unmatched, and to send our kids somewhere else thinking the grass is greener, it's absolutely not. The other thing, and this is, I'm ending here, the movement to defund public education, I think, is a crime. So I will never support diverting funds from our kids to any private institution. We've seen it happen in higher education. We've seen it happen in healthcare. None of that benefits anyone but the investors.
Ms. Isernia?
So, okay. It's going to be hard to follow that, especially the planetarium part. But so I was here on the board, Mr. Scavo, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, during the gap elimination and the reduction of funds, and the causes of that being the state and not ourselves, and that results of that being cuts to programs, cuts to sports, cuts to class, increases in class sizes. Again, not a condition caused by anything we did, but by a condition caused by funding from the state. So I graduated from Sachem in 1981, and I'm pretty sure that I'm probably the oldest person up here. So I've been in this community since I was 3 years old, and I'm now 60 years old. Sachem has always been a part of my life. My two daughters, my one daughter graduated, the other one's in North right now. And I consider this, at least I want to reflect to the community that this charter school being placed in Sachem does pose a threat to everything that's been built here. That you have to recognize that the charter school does not provide K through 12. It only provides K through 5 at best. So you're not done with Sachem if you go to the charter school. You will eventually need to send your kid here if you're resident here, unless you go to parochial school or another private school. But if you come back to public school, you'll be sending your kid to Sachem. But I think at some point it might be a very different Sachem than what you see right now. So the wound you're causing to Sachem is self-inflicted. It's people in the community making a decision to actually hurt their own home school district that their own kids will eventually need. So I think the community needs to recognize that this is not a one size is going to solve all your kids' problems for K through 12 education. It's only a best of K through 5. So I would say to the community, don't cause another wound to our programs. Don't remove our funding by sending your kids there. It's not necessary. Everything here in Sachem can give them everything they need, as many of my colleagues have said to you in the community today. So with that said, I'd say go Sachem.
Just last comment I think of the night. I've lived in this district. I know a lot of people in the audience, and I've, have spoken to many people in this district over the years that I've served on the board. But I moved into this district in 1970 when I was 2 years old. I've been in this district for 53 years. I'm a proud Sachem graduate. I started my educational career at Mary Mack for kindergarten, and Miss Ganda as my my kindergarten teacher. And then I went to Tamarack, K through 6. And the experiences that I had at that elementary level was absolutely tremendous. The teachers that were so caring, that helped you and assisted you at times of need, whether it was family issues, whether it was financial issues, truly embodied the concept of family. To this day, I'm still friends with my first grade teacher on Facebook, believe it or not, and I still talk to her. That's the impression, the impact that she's had on me. But of course, college took me away from Sachem for a period of time. I lived in Providence, while I got my undergraduate degree. I moved to upstate New York, where I started my teaching career. But I always found my way back to Sachem, mainly because I knew I wanted to raise a family here. I knew I wanted my children to have the same experiences that I had. And I wanted them to be able to have that same life that I was able to have, and what Sachem gave back to me and my family. During my years in Sachem, I did play sports. I did play football. I did play baseball for a while. And the one thing about Sachem is that, when you talk about this school district, and we talk about family, we talk about history and pride, culture. The one thing that I learned about this district is that when we're down, okay, and we're faced with adversity, and we're faced with, issues, whether they're financial issues to the district, as Mr. Isernia talked about in 2011, this district comes together, okay, tremendously. I've, presided over meetings in the auditoriums with 800-900 people in it, okay, mainly because the state took money from us and resulted in us having to make cuts, okay, and this district is passionate about, their children. They move here because they want their children to have the absolute best. And when a charter school comes in and threatens, okay, to take money out of our, our budget, okay, for purposes of private education. And it threatens the opportunities for our children, and it threatens the, the co-curricular opportunities and athletic opportunities and academic opportunities. This community comes out. And they come out in full force. I remember playing football, and we would be down 2 touchdowns, and we'd be bloodied and muddied and everything else. And one thing about a Sachem graduate is they never give up. They never, ever give up. They play to that last minute. And this community is that same family, that same attitude and behavior and characteristics. This community is not going to take this lightly. They're not. They do not roll over, and they're not going to be happy about a charter school coming into our community and taking funds away from our children. I don't know if Miss Laughlin's still here, but she left. But she made a comment before about being scarred and having nightmares about what happened in 2011. And I have the same nightmares and scars. And this charter school coming in and possibly siphoning anywhere from $2 to $9 million a year out of our budget is not sustainable, and it will have an impact on the opportunities for our children. I can promise you, I saw it in 2011 when New York State withheld money, state aid money from us. But I'm going to quote a musician that I heard a quote that he said is that, he made a comment to a copyright case where he made the comment, he said, I'm not going to be a piggy bank, okay, for somebody else, somebody else's personal interest. And Sachem is not going to be a piggy bank for somebody else's personal interest. This district will come out. They will not roll over, okay? And I would imagine as we get closer, and if a decision is made that's not favorable to us, we're going to be back in the auditoriums with 800, 900 people in it. This district is proud, its culture, its history, and we're not going to allow anybody to come in and take why we moved here and what we want to give our children. So we are Sachem, and we're going to continue to fight this fight as long as we will and can for our children. That's why we ran for the board. That's why we chose to come back to this wonderful district and raise our children here, is to fight for our children and fight for future generations as well. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. At this particular point in time, I need a motion to close the public hearing. Sure.
Okay, the funding on the charter school. So you're saying 20 kids chose to go to charter school at $15,000 a pop, right? Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if they opened in Central Islip, what were they getting per kid?
23,000.
23. So why would they want to come here?
Well, I think that the concept is, Mr. Deshi, is that the application that was submitted to the state and was approved was 573 pages. And in that 573-page document, Sachem was never mentioned once.
Right.
Okay. So when they came here as the temporary residents, their plan was to attract and target Central Islip, Bayshore, and Brentwood kids. And while they were here, they changed their strategy to now target Sachem kids, unbeknownst to the Sachem School District. So while it's less money, right, why not take advantage of the community that they're actually residing in, even temporarily?
Right.
And it's my understanding is, and I had a conversation with a Pat Med board member, in fact, the president last night at a wonderful event that honored our Sachem graduates that are going into the military. They're now targeting Pat Med students as well as Connecticut students.
Right.
So once again, not within the confines of what the state approved.
Because this is not what it was
No.
6 months ago
Not at all.
when I screenshotted on my phone about it.
Not at all.
Okay.
I also want to make the concern that I have is that if they do end up getting residency within Central Islip, that they are getting about $23,000 per pupil there. That will the students that are enrolled from Sachem now move to the bottom of the list and then have to basically get kicked out and be sent back to Sachem where they're going. So those kids are getting established for a few years and then it's like, well, nope, now we're going to be in CI. We're going to put priority to them.
Right, like
so
my
again,
son-
you're just throwing around kids as money.
Exactly. So, but if they threw the kid back, they're keeping the funds?
If it's during that fiscal year. So yeah, so if a kid starts this September at that school, if they're granted this stay, and we give the money to them. If they decide in December that that school is not for them, they come back to Sachem, but that money stays with them.
But not future money. Just want to make sure.
Once the new fiscal year begins, then we would, based on the state aid we get, based on our
on
numbers.
the
then.
numbers that are there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then just a motion to adjourn the special meeting as well.
Motion.
So-
Closure of public hearing.
And then another motion to close the
Okay,
special
then a
meeting.
Motion to close public hearing of Ms. Slattery and Ms. Volpe. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. And motion to close the adjourn the special meeting. Mr. Reynolds, second by Ms. Stephanie Volpe. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Have a good evening.
Thank you.